The tape, let's grind. Shut up. The tape. Let's grind. The tape. We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape, let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape, let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape, let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape,
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
the tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach and the bench deep. Right. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Yep. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby Smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play, Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't gonna play, Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape,
The
bro.
tape.
Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Huh? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a wild Wednesday.
Let's ride with that.
Let's ride with that. I think it was relatively wild in the world of college football today, especially considering the news. I want to start right here. We live in a very crazy time with regards to college football. It's a time where everything seems ever changing. I feel like it's a world of college football where, I mean, hell, just 3 years ago, doing something like, I don't know, declaring that you had an agent would automatically declare you for the NFL draft. Like, the idea of having representation was kind of frowned upon. You didn't need any representation. You were a student athlete. The promises were made in the form of scholarships, room and board, and whatever cash we could get out of a booster's pocket. That was about it. You know, just 3 years ago, 36 months ago, that was the world of college football. Nowadays, just 3 years later, the biggest storyline in college football today that had all of social media up in arms, posturing and making a stance was this Matthew Sluka news out there at UNLV. It was announced today that Matthew Sluka would be entering the transfer portal. He is a quarterback at UNLV of all places. Said that he would be sitting out the remainder of the year, redshirting this year, and then entering the transfer portal, looking for a new home. Also posted or talked about in that chat or in that post on Twitter and social media that it was because of false promises that were made to him, right? Mostly NIL promises that were made to him that were not met, and ultimately entered the portal because of it, or will be entering the portal because of it. And here's the thing. The moment this news came out, posturing left and right. People trying to get in and get their piece made on both sides of this party, right? You got Barry Odom and UNLV, okay, very clearly texting people, very clearly giving their side of the story, okay, to the point where this morning at 8 o'clock, I wake up to a bunch of people claiming sources that this man Sluka was out here after 3 games being like, you know what I'm finna do? I'm finna redshirt go get me another bag. Because all I was a man at Holy Cross out here for a handful of years, got in the transfer portal, ended up at UNLV, and now everybody knows who I am. I've gone 3-0. We're the number one, maybe group of 5 bid team. All right. Hey, this guy's money hungry. This guy's going to be in the portal again because he wants more money. That was obvious that it was posturing from UNLV's side of things. All right. That side of the party came out. And then you know what? Pete Thamel, Mr. Agent Man. Pete Thamel got on that phone, got a couple phone calls from the agent side of this thing from Sluka, and the agent was like, bro, they told us they was going to give us 100 racks. They told us they was going to give us $100,000 to go from Holy Cross to UNLV. We show up, they gave mans $3,000 to move, and they're trying to tell him that they're going to pay him $3,000 a month. That ain't what we agreed upon. They're trying to give me a $12,000, an $88,000 pay cut. What the hell's going on here? And then we had all the new angles, right? Everybody's like, oh, you agreed to go out there on a verbal agreement? What kind of agent is that? Get your ass fired. Not realizing that some of these NIL collectives and some of these programs operate based off word and agreement, verbal agreement before they get the kids on, because some of these schools are following what they thought were rules because there was this floated NIL rule that you couldn't, get kids to your campus based off NIL. But once they got to campus, you could give them however much NIL you wanted to. That's kind of the thought process at some of these schools, whereas some of these schools are getting high school kids on dotted lines, depending on where their NIL state's legislation is. And while I go through all of this, and while I talk through all of this, where, did the agent misrepresent him? Is the kid money hungry? Did UNLV make false promises? Man, college football is jacked. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now because we have no regulations. We have none. And I see everyone run into social media today and be like, God dang, college football is in trouble. We need so much help. Guys, where were y'all at clamoring when USC athletes were out here doing this last year? When USC athletes were out here calling, reporters, and moms and dads were like, yo, they told us they were going to give us $85,000 and cover room and board. We get there, and they want to give us $30,000 and make us pay rent? Nobody batted an eye. In fact, I think the Film Guide Network was the only one out here talking about it last year. Everybody was just like, whatever. Everybody wants to talk about Lincoln Riley not being able to coach defense, meanwhile, this whole story's out here about him, shortcutting kids, about getting them there on promises of certain dollar amounts, and then they get there, and Lincoln's NIL collective looking at them like, I don't know. I don't know if you're good. I don't know if you're good enough for what we promised you, so here's what we're going to give you. And then they're stuck there for 6 months, and they hit the portal anyways. Nobody batted an eye. But for some reason, this one set the world apart. And everybody want to talk about how bad college football is and how we need rectification, how we need somebody to come save the world. Guys, we got it coming. We got it coming. There's regulation coming. We have House versus NCAA settled. Is this real? Is this real right here? What I'm seeing right now? Breaking, Barry Alexander intends to redshirt. Left and right.
There it is.
Left and right. You know why? Ironic that hits right now. A little bit of false promises, I would imagine. We saw Barry Alexander. I didn't plan that, obviously. That just hit my timeline. These false promises are happening left and right. It's going to happen until regulation comes. So, man, I don't know what you do about this other than from now on, I'm going to sit on my hands and not make an opinion on this one because I did this morning. I saw the story of Sluka hit the news timeline this morning, and I'm like, oh, wow. That's clearly like what I think's either happening right here with Bear, right, where 3 games, false promises, or 3 games played well, we suck. I'm going to hit the portal and get some more money. But I don't know why this guy's hitting the portal for a red shirt. He should be going to the NFL draft by now if he didn't jack this stuff up by, doing what he's done the last 3 years. Crazy, crazy, crazy storyline in college football. But obviously we know this is where we're at. We've been here. We've been right here. We've been in this false promise world of NIL recruitment for a while now. Y'all just waking up. I don't know why it took this.
Check and make sure the live is muted, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's okay. Just making sure people were making some comments about it. And this is why I thought it was interesting that as soon as the news dropped, that everybody wanted to jump to bashing Sluka and kind of criticizing his decision of quitting on the team, like he's leaving his guys out to dry, 3-0. He's not even that good. First of all, you look at the passing stats, and it isn't that great, but he's also has the 44th most rushing yards in the country right now. So just something to keep in mind. He has been a good quarterback for UNLV, but – and then the news drops of Pete Thamel saying, oh, he was promised $100,000 and he only gets $30,000. Well, I think a lot of people in this world would also do something about their job or want to leave their job if they were promised $100,000 and you get to your job and it's like, oh, we can only give you $30,000. I mean, that's a big difference. I know handshake agreements don't mean anything. Probably would have been better to get some type of written contract up or something like that. But it is crazy that we are at this point where not even halfway through the season, and people are redshirting. And now the fact that Barry Alexander is doing the same thing, that just blows my mind too.
Yeah, there's been a precedent set today. And
I want to jump in here. I know I was pointing at you to tell you to do it. Nothing surprises me with Barry Alexander and his representation. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's been a precedent set today that this is going to happen more in the future until you get regulation. You know, we all kind of 5 or 6 years ago kind of clutched our pearls at the fact that, wait, players are opting out of bowl games because they're preparing for the NFL draft. This is selfish. This is ridiculous. And now that's the new norm. This is probably going to be the new norm for the next season or so until you get some regulation that does legitimately tie these guys to playing on the field, I think. I mean, we saw it happened twice in the same day now.
No blame for Sluka here? You feel any type of way about this? If I shortchanged you $88,000 or if I shortchanged you 88% of your salary, would you show up tomorrow?
No, that's why. Yeah, that's the point I made.
I know, but we're teammates. What if I just couldn't do it because I didn't have it? Would you show up?
Probably, yeah.
And why is Ricky White not in the transfer portal right now? How is Ricky White's checks not bouncing? Because I guarantee you Ricky White was very poachable this offseason. He was a Blitnikoff runner-up. You don't think he was getting phone calls? You don't think his agent was getting some offers from Power 5 football programs saying, hey, this Ricky White guy, I got 800 racks for him right now? Because I guarantee you he was getting phone calls. Is his check not bouncing? Why is this one?
The only thing I could think of is that when Mayava elected to enter the transfer portal, that obviously probably opened up some money for him. They wanted to keep Ricky White. Money was allocated to Ricky White. He might have something to do with the fact of why maybe there is some short change at some of these other players like Sluka.
My question is, and I'm not saying this is what the situation is, but there were some reports that Sluka maybe got new agency representation that then had him reevaluate his value and say, you know, hey, you're worth more than this. You should probably hold out. Is that going to happen in the future? You think should you worry about that, or is that just false flags?
I think there's a lot of hostile negotiation tactics going on right about now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to continue to be more and more hostile the closer and closer we get to actual regulation. I told y'all about a month and a half ago that if you were a representative out here, or if you were an agent, or if you were a top recruit or whatever, go ahead, get wild right now. Do whatever you want. You got all the leverage in the world, and it's going to come to an end very quickly, very quickly. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this chaotic stuff as we near regulation, because they know this is the last time you can get out here and do crazy shit in 18 months or 12 months or whenever House vs. NCAA is finally settled and we actually get some type of, ordinance about what we're going to do and how we're going to govern this sport. Then we're going to have straight salaries, and there ain't going to be no excessive cheating or walking into coach's office in the middle of September, 3 games in, and threatening either a red shirt or a raise. That's insanity. It's absolutely insanity. But I guess get your bag. Like the chat's saying right now, go ahead, get your bag. And I've been on both sides of this agreement, or both sides of this discussion. I've looked at this and said, look, man, like take Tom Brady, for example. Tom Brady played 20 years as one of the best quarterbacks in the sport. 15 of those years, he was the best. He was the number one guy. He really only had contract leverage like 3 times in 2 decades. You got contract leverage now as an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid. You're not going to have it when you go to the NFL. It's not going to suddenly exist. It's not going to all of a sudden you're going to be a free agent every year or have the opportunity to be a free agent every year like you do now. So if you want to be out here leveraging and whoring this out, by the way, I don't think Matthew Sluka is going to be playing 10 years in the league.
I don't even know if he's going to play 1 year.
So if you're getting shortchanged 88 racks, you got to sit out and do that. But my question is, ain't nobody going to give this man $100K next year. He's going to sit out 9 months, be a graduate transfer somewhere else after putting up like 150 yards average passing and 90 yards rushing on 43% completion?
Yeah, I don't know.
You
about
think
that.
he's getting 100 racks?
I don't know about that
I
one.
don't think he's getting 100 racks.
So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how it plays out of who is actually interested in this. Where does he actually go? Like, does he actually almost end up downgrading programs again? And if that's the case, then he certainly isn't getting that $100,000. So it is going to be interesting to see how this plays out from here.
I love and I hate it. I don't love it. I hate that we're at a point now where agents are starting to sway these reporters. We're already here. Actually, I would say we were here about 10 months ago. We're already here where you're going to start seeing more and more of so-and-so got such and such deal per agency or per sources. The source is the agent. You're going to start seeing it's already in the NFL. It's been in the NFL ranks and the NBA ranks and the MLB ranks for 2 decades now. Since agents have really, really started to steer narratives, they're going to start steering narratives more and more. I'm not claiming the biggest reporters in college football will have agents holding their hand from now on. So that's where we're at, and that sucks to me, in my opinion, because it's all posturing. It's all who can steer the narrative the most, who can get their client to look the best in the limelight of the national media. That's what we see on ESPN every Sunday morning. That's what we're going to see from now on some of this stuff with regards to NIL reporting.
My question is, going back to Bear Alexander, this was viewed as someone who was going to be an NFL prospect, felt like a 3-and-done type player in my opinion.
Yeah.
Why would he be redshirting and then entering the transfer portal? I don't think that makes it. That's what's puzzling to me in this scenario.
I don't think he's going to enter the portal. I think he's just going to sit out.
That's what they're reporting, is that he's entering the portal.
I wouldn't be
Why
surprised.
isn't he going to the draft?
That's what I'm wondering.
Buddy, this is what I'm talking about. The representation here is trash. Trash.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get a text or an alert Friday morning or tomorrow night of Beryl Alexander's decide he's not going to opt in to getting a red
He's
shirt.
another holdout.
It
He
could.
did this
I mean,
in the spring. He threatened to enter the portal. He
Yeah,
did enter the portal.
Yeah,
and then came back because he wasn't getting his checks.
I think
That's
that's
true.
probably
That's a
what
good
you're
point.
dealing with here. I mean, he saw someone who said, hey, I'm not getting the money I deserve. I'm owed. I'm going to hit the portal. I'm going to redshirt. I'm going to do it mid-season. I'm going to make this crazy move that's never been done before. I think Bear Alexander's following in those footsteps.
Yeah, I think it's oh, wait. People were okay with Peyton Sluka or Matthew Sluka holding them hostage because he didn't get his money. I'm going to do the same.
Do we know if they're represented by the same people?
I highly doubt that.
Yeah, I highly doubt that.
Highly doubt that. Bear Alexander's probably represented by a bigwig, probably a real dude. Because he is an NFL talent, but we're squandering this at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after this, if he declared for the draft this year, even though he sounds like he's hitting the portal, if he declared for the draft this year, he'd be a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
They draft him still because he's uber talented, but they'd be like, what in the world is going on over all of this? Weird stuff. It's just that one's sad almost at this point. Like that, you're right. That dude should be a top 20 pick.
Yeah.
That's what he should be.
He's been playing well. It's not like
No, he's never. It's never been in between the lines. It's never been the problem. Never. It's not. He was great at all 5 high schools he played for. 4 high schools he played for. He's going to be great for all 3 colleges he played for. He's going to be great for all 5 NFL teams that probably signed this guy. It is, and then it's honestly, what I said about him last year, this is the most frustrating thing about this guy. He's going to keep getting chances because he's so damn talented, and they're never going to learn a lesson. There will be no lesson here learned, in my opinion, because he's too damn good. He's too damn good at football.
Yeah.
You don't think enough red flags have been raised about him at this point?
Bro,
or?
the NFL does not give a shit. The NFL does not give a shit. I've learned that over and over and over again.
Someone's going to think that they can be the one to figure it out. Someone's going to think that they're going to be the one to get it right.
Or worse, someone's going to look at it and go, man, we sure could use a twitched-up 3-tech. That'll be it. They'll just sign him. All right, welcome into tonight's show. We got a great one planned for you. We got a better best play today. I'm 3-0 on those. We'll see if we can go – or 3-1, excuse me. We'll see if we can go to 4-1 this week. It is Wednesday, which means we got What If Wednesday for you. We're going to be taking a peek on tonight's show as well. We're going to pick one. We got Heisman odds updates and maybe some clarification on the Heisman race coming up this week, and a new segment, or actually a return of a segment, Week 5's Would You Rather. Boys, Where do you want to start? I know where I want to start. Shout out to our friends over at Better. Did you guys know Better now offers college football props? Did you know this?
They do?
Better now offers college football props. You can enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. They have all of the college football games you could possibly imagine. You can now play in 23 states, guys. 23 of them.
Damn.
That's almost half. It's almost half this beautiful country. 23 states. Better is matching first-time deposits up to $250 if you use code Brooks or click the link in the description of this video. Again, promo code Brooks, all right? And you'll get 100% deposit match up to $250. Great time to be over there at Better. We got a lock coming up for you tonight and tomorrow night in the local hour. We're going to play both of those on the Alabama and Georgia game, okay? There's a lot of special plays over there going over on Better. Be over there with our friends at Better today. All right, let's do it. What are your guys? I think we already got your thoughts on the Sluka news. We can move on. It's Wednesday. Let's do it. What if Wednesday? Guys, what if the Alabama-Georgia game is like last play tight? Like down to the last one, very akin to the Michigan-USC football game. But I think leaving that game, despite the fact that Michigan won, I think if they play that 9 more times, I feel like most people think USC wins. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about we leave this football game and everybody's like, damn, those are 2 of the best teams in college football. What would be the reaction afterwards?
You're going to, get the narrative of whoever loses, man, I bet they can't wait to face this team again in the SEC championship or the playoff
A little get
game.
back.
Yeah, that'll be a dangerous. And then, of course, it's also going to go into the, hey, this is one of the best matchups in college football. Every single time these teams have played, it's for the most part been a close, nail-biting game. So I think that's kind of what you're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be your typical Georgia versus Alabama football game. I also think that you would then get the instant – because whenever you get these one-possession football games, and this is why it happens so many times with the Georgia-Alabama game, people are going to start nitpicking small moments in that football game of, oh, if this went different, if this throw went there, if this flag ain't thrown, if this flag is thrown, it completely changes the football game. So you'll get a lot of nitpicking of this game, but I think it would deliver that, yeah, these are 2 of the best teams.
I didn't even think about that. If it's a close game, whoever loses is going to blame the refs. If it's Georgia, after they blame the offensive coordinator.
Or an injury or something.
Or an injury or a flag. Or
Somebody's
definitely
getting
blame the
fired.
ref. Someone's definitely getting fired. Actually, I don't know. You play it tight. If it's like 34-33, I don't know how that would happen. But if it's like 35-34, something like that, I don't know if anybody's getting fired.
Bobo haters are definitely coming out.
No matter what.
If Georgia lost by 1 point, it would be, oh, Bobo made this dumb play call on this one play, and this is why I don't like him. Like, it would happen. It always happens.
What if Cam Ward plays a really, really good game against Virginia Tech, but Miami still loses?
I don't see any world. Well, it's Miami football, and normally they find a way to lose one of these random football games, but Virginia Tech's bad right now. They're not playing good football. I don't think there's a way. If they lose to Virginia Tech, I'm going to come on here and kill them. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill them on Monday. We're going to kill their hopes. Hopes and dreams dead.
Are you killing Cam Ward's Heisman hopes, though?
Probably.
If you lose to Virginia,
we're just going to murder the whole program. If you lose to Virginia Tech this weekend, Miami's dead. I'm killing them all, putting them in the ground.
Yeah, I feel like if you lose to Virginia Tech, your entire stock of everything immediately goes down. People are assuming that you're going to lose more football games, and I think the attention would immediately shift to Clemson. Like, Clemson is now the favorite of the ACC, so you're no longer in the limelight in that conference. What if I told you Arkansas could win 8 games this year?
Sam Pittman extension?
I'm listening.
All right, hear me out. Arkansas or Texas A&M this week.
Yeah.
Then you got Tennessee. We'll count that as a loss. We'll go ahead and mark that one as.
Report just dropped, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Let me run this off for you. Roger Robinson out. London Humphreys out. Tate Ratledge out. Michael Williams questionable. Zacoby White questionable. Jordan Hall questionable. Warren Brinson probable. Quay Rousseau probable.
Okay.
Richard Young probable. Jeremiah Alexander probable for Alabama. So one of you two go ahead and write that sucker up. That
Okay.
boy.
Going back to, so they got Texas A&M this week. So I think that's a very winnable game for Arkansas. Then they got Tennessee. We'll go ahead and mark that one up as a loss. So still sitting at one more win. They already have 3 right now. LSU at Arkansas. I think that's a toss-up. I think that could go either way. I think that is a winnable game for Arkansas at this point.
You don't trust in us, do you?
Dude, I mean, with Arkansas's offense and Taylor Green and LSU's defense, or lack thereof one kind of, I think that's a very winnable game for Arkansas. Then you got at Mississippi State. That's another win for you. Ole Miss, we'll count that as a loss. Texas, that's a loss. But then you close it out with Louisiana Tech. And at Missouri, I think that's also a winnable football game.
I like
Arkansas, 8 wins. Did you give them A&M?
I said it's a winnable game. I think there's a couple toss-ups, like Texas A&M toss-up. What else has it? LSU's a toss-up, and then Missouri's a toss-up. So 3 toss-ups, but it's very possible.
Question: What keeps back to the? I know we just talked about this, but what keeps SEC coach in these medical reports from doing a little fibbing?
Nothing. Because, I mean, especially now that – and we learned –
everything I've heard from Alabama fans all week was that Rousseau's probably doubtful, questionable, may not play. And then I see probable pop up on that. And I think Bama fans are a little even surprised by that.
Well, I think, too, it doesn't matter what is said on Wednesday because what we've learned is that it just gets updated throughout the week anyways. So you could put someone as questionable – the next day they're probable, and then the next day they're not even on the injury report on Friday. Or you could go vice versa. You could downgrade them to doubtful. That's what happened to some Georgia players ahead of the Kentucky game. So
just be out here wilding.
Yeah.
And staying out of the sororities' houses.
Yeah, definitely do
Accusations.
It's the vapes, bro.
Potentially, it's the vapes, you think, huh? Obviously, we're talking about London Humphrey getting mono. You think it's the vapes?
Yeah, bro.
I think it's rush season. That's what I think. But you would think this is a vet coming down from Vandy, coming down from Nashville. This is a vet for this kind of thing, you would imagine.
Why is he a vet to this?
Huh?
Why would he be a vet to this?
I don't know. I would imagine Nashville got some activity with regards to this type of stuff. But congrats to him, unfortunately.
Rush season's over, dude. It's the vapes.
You think it's so?
Yeah, dude. Why wouldn't it be?
I don't know. I was a vapor. I ain't never got mono from vaping.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure.
But it is passing a lot of germs around.
Yeah.
With
it's
the vapes.
essentially, it's from a germ standpoint, it's kissing.
Blowing clouds coming down with the mono. Couldn't be me, man. What if Auburn gets embarrassed at home by Oklahoma?
People start looking at buyout prices for Hugh Freeze.
I already did it.
Would that make him 1-3?
Yes,
1-4?
I've already done this, by the way. They owe him $7 million in 2025. 7.25 in 26, 7.5, 27, 7 3/4 in 28, and the buyout clause. That's a total of $29.5 million. The buyout clause for Hugh Freeze is 75% of the remaining contract value. So after this year, at the end of this season, they will owe him, if they wanted to fire him, about $22.25 million. Sounds like a lot, right? Just north of $22 million to get him to leave. This is a program that paid Gus Malzahn $21.5 million to get the hell out of Dodge. This is a football program that just got done paying Brian Harsin $16 million to get the hell out of Dodge. They got the dough. I don't think it's the time, though. But this is going to get real hot real quick for a football program. Again, talked about it last night. Boy, how wrong were they about their football coach. And boy, how wrong have they found out how wrong they were about their football coach.
Getting blown out this week would be really bad for Auburn because then you have to go to Georgia.
Yeah.
That's only going to make matters worse more than likely. And then after Georgia, you got to go play Missouri.
So we're talking about staring down like a 1-6?
Yeah.
Potentially?
Potentially.
You got to fire him.
1-6 is
1-6 is like, hey, we're done. We're just going to cook it. We're going to start all over.
For essentially anybody in the SEC, that's fireable.
Yeah. Especially somebody at Auburn.
Yeah, especially someone at Auburn.
Here's what's going to happen. Even if he doesn't get fired, all this, ooh, y'all just wait. Auburn's going to open up the reserves with regards to the NIL budget. Y'all just wait. Hugh's got the recruiters. Hugh's got the staff. Hugh's going to go out here and get all this money out these Auburn boosters. They're just waiting. They're just waiting to pounce. I heard Brandon Marcello doing that this offseason, getting them Auburn sources telling him, hey, this ain't the year. Wait until the 2025 year. Wait until it comes around. He's got all that booster money. Buddy, if Hugh Freeze called me in July, said I need $500,000, I'd say, Coach, I don't know, you're a little crazy. If he called me right now and said I need $500,000, I'm going to say, what, for your buyout? Like a total different vibe around here, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. Any more what ifs? I got a couple more. I got 3 more.
Yeah,
what if Northern Illinois beats NC State? Does that change your – obviously it kind of it would solidify our view of NC State.
Trash.
Does Northern Illinois get back in the playoff spot picture after this?
I never left.
Would this be would this set up as potentially like the greatest Group of 5 season ever?
Yeah. Or just the most and here's what I think is really happening. we're seeing the elites of the elites in the big conferences get really, really good, right? I feel like we got 10 really good football programs right now, 6 or 7 national title contenders, but 10 or 11 Power 5 football programs where you're like, damn, they could make a playoff. The middle of college football has been decimated, and the bottom's even worse than it ever was because the talent's going up, right? The talent's getting bought up by better and better football programs, the top 20s of the world, whereas 25 through 70 have gotten much, much worse, and 70 through 130 have gotten real, real bad. I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And I think mid-major programs they're the only schools left with longevity, right? The really, really good football players off their team get nabbed by great programs at the mid-major level, but they're the only ones with continuity on rosters year over year because they're the only ones historically not turning it over constantly like some of these SEC schools are. I think that might be what we're seeing.
Yeah.
I got one.
Go ahead.
What if Quinn Ewers plays on Saturday, but he looks like a shell of himself?
Stand on it, 10 toes. You got to. You did the whole, this is Quinn's team or a national title contending team, and Quinn Ewers is our quarterback. You can't have him have a lackadaisical performance and then renege on that, statement.
It would be pretty bad that you did it against Mississippi State, but I agree. You got to stand on it.
They're a bad football team.
Yeah, it's a really bad football team.
No Blake Chafin this week. Who's going to be their quarterback? Do we know?
I don't know. I can check on that.
I just asked you if you knew off the top of your head the backup at Mississippi State. If you would have nailed that, I would have automatically made everyone watching us right now subscribe. And if you're not, shame on you. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button as well.
Chris Parson.
Chris Parson. He was a Florida State high school commit. He is from Tennessee. Is that correct?
Sure.
We'll stick there.
Yeah, Brentwood, Tennessee. Ravenwood High School.
Look at the cat. It's almost like he's the director of recruiting for Sports Illustrated.
And good at it.
This guy knows his shit. What if Illinois beats Penn State this weekend?
James Franklin is back on the hot seat, folks.
Guys, Illinois plays no Ohio State this year. They get Michigan at home. They have to go to Eugene.
Okay. So, best case scenario, you're 11-1.
Is this Brent Bielema or Brett?
That's like asking me, is it Brent Venables or Brett Venables?
Do we only do that to Venables? By the way, is it Veneebles or Venables?
I do the
Brett?
latter. I'm the latter.
I am too. That's how you spell it. Hey, I know I did this last week with Nebraska. Illinois, sneaky chance to be a top 3 or 4 team in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're the best version of how Big Ten football teams are labeled. Like how everybody envisions a typical Big Ten football team. They're the best version of it. Of offense is good enough, defense is playing good football. And
apparently, it's Burt Bielema.
that checks out for this show. So yeah, I think that Illinois is playing good Big Ten football, or really just good football in general. I think Altmaier has been impressive. I think he's played better than he has in years past. And if he can continue that, and the defense can continue to make plays, and that's how this football team is going to have to win. It's going to have to be through the defense making plays. Like when they played Kansas, it was because the defense was turning over Jalen Daniels constantly, and the offense was getting cracks at it. And by the end of the football game, Illinois was moving the football pretty well. So it's going to have to continue to be that. Doing that for 12 games through an entire regular season, that's a tough ask to do. But, I mean, if they beat Penn State this weekend, it not only kind of crushes Penn State's dreams of making a college football playoff this year almost, but it would certainly increase the hype and the build around Illinois.
Here's another one for you. I'm trying to stay involved. What if Oklahoma versus Auburn is the worst quarterback game we have ever seen from both teams? I'm talking like 4 quarterbacks that are just disgustingly bad.
So we all assume that 4 quarterbacks are playing this weekend?
I wouldn't be surprised.
In that Auburn Oklahoma game?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to fire off a Bear Alexander tweet right now.
We'll let you cook for a second then.
And here's the tweet. In my opinion, Bear Alexander had 3-and-done first-round pick written in his scouting profile after his freshman season. He's now entering the portal a 3rd time and sitting out a year. Tough. All right. What if Michigan has it figured out? Are you looking at me because I didn't answer his what if? Is that
A little
why
bit
you're
of
doing
both. And I'm trying to figure this question out.
that? What if Michigan figured it out? Can they bully ball their way to another Big Ten championship?
No, not
Game.
this year.
Game.
Game.
Big Ten championship game.
Okay. You know what? I mean,
You know what?
there probably is.
Maybe.
There probably is a world because I didn't believe it last year, and they're not nearly as talented as they were last year. But I mean, perhaps there is a world. I mean, I think it could potentially exist. I just am not buying it for this sole reason alone. And I think Christian talked about this yesterday. Of Alex Orji cannot throw the football. He cannot throw the football. J.J. McCarthy could throw the football. They just didn't. They ran the football a lot more than they threw the ball. But when they needed to throw the football, J.J. McCarthy could throw the football. I don't know if Alex Orji can do that because they really. I mean, you throw for what do you throw? 46 passing yards last weekend. I'm holding off on that one. What if a G5 team doesn't end up being the 12 seed?
Impossible.
You think it's impossible?
Aren't they automatically ranked at 12?
I don't know.
No, they're automatically in. You get an auto bid. There's no automatic 12.
Boise State goes undefeated.
Ain't happening. They've already lost to Oregon.
Okay. Boise State wins out. 11-1.
11-1, one loss on the road to Oregon.
Yeah. Close-ish football game.
I'd put that over an 11-1 loss to Northern Illinois Notre Dame in a heartbeat.
Ashton Jeanty, potential Heisman finalist.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that could happen.
What if Kentucky battles Ole Miss tough on
gosh.
Saturday at noon? Transitive property going nuts before that 7:30 kick. I'll tell you that much. People will be like, "See, told you." Georgia didn't have just a bad week last week. Kentucky, good.
I don't know if it would change my perspective more about Kentucky or if it would change my perspective more about Ole Miss because Kentucky playing Georgia close. I wouldn't say necessarily changed my perspective about Georgia and how good of a football team they are. The only difference is this would be Kentucky going to Oxford, going to play at Ole Miss. I think it would just depend on how the game looks, like how it played out. Like if Kentucky made it another like clashing heads football game where it's real tight, nobody's really scoring, and they kept it close, I'd be like, okay, Kentucky made it another Kentucky football game. But if like Kentucky's offense figures things out and is Brock Vandegrift making plays for the offense and becomes a pseudo shootout somewhat, I think that would kind of change my perspective on Kentucky's offense and the outlook of their season.
The national media would also begin to fall in love with Kentucky. It's like, hey, these are two top 10 teams that Kentucky's played, and they've given them everything they wanted and more. Let's jump on this bandwagon. So I think that no one would then look at Georgia's game against Kentucky and go, oh, that wasn't that bad of a performance as we thought. It would all be about positive reviews on Kentucky. So, which I honestly don't think it's that far-fetched from happening.
Yeah. You have any more?
What if Clemson hangs 50 on Stanford?
50?
50.
Stanford, a slightly better football program than they were last year. They were a worse Power 5
still
football
pretty
team in the country last year. They're respectable this year, though.
Yeah, but
I think Ashton Daniels is playing well.
He's a good football player.
Yeah, he is.
I was honestly surprised he wasn't poached out of the portal last year. I think we might get one of those situations this year. And this is a product of the times that we're at now where, like, really good college quarterbacks that might not ever make it in the league can really leverage themselves for millions of dollars right now in college football.
Mm-hmm.
That's ideal for those guys and their agencies.
But going back to your question, if Clemson does hang 50 on Stanford, then people are stamping Clemson as one of these offensive juggernauts now. And it would just turn into they just played the best defense in college football in week 1, and they were still trying to figure things out, and they couldn't get anything going. And then this would be 4 weeks in a row where they really found their offensive groove. I think people will really start paying attention and really start verifying Clemson's offense.
Definitely. That's all my what ifs.
All right, I don't have a what if. I have a what does it take? What does it take in this football game for Carson Beck to get back into the Heisman contention? 350?
I was just gonna say 3+.
250 and a win.
No, I think it's got to be. He's got to be the reason.
I think you throw for 300.
He's so far out of it, and I know we're gonna get to it later tonight. But he's so far out of this discussion. People are just like,
250, 3 tuds and a win. But you have to look good in that game. Like, it has to be like, wow, Carson Beck was really surgical against Alabama. It can't be like, he overcame a bad interception late and won the game for him. Like, it has to be a very, very, very flawless experience. For as flawless as you can make it on the road.
Got to be that smooth operator.
Because, I mean, the reality is that automatically becomes the best win in college football if you win against Alabama on the road.
Oh, whoever wins this game's got the best win in college football.
Absolutely.
And they will be the number 1 ranked team next week.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. And I think the loser, depending on how it happens, is still within the top 8. That's how I feel about this football game.
I don't think unless it's an absolute manslaughter for
on
the
one
losing
side or the
team,
other, which none of us think is going to happen.
No, I think both teams are going to stay up towards the top of the college football rankings.
Any more what ifs?
No.
I'm out.
All right, let's take a peek. I love this segment. I love this segment because this is exactly how football works for me on Saturdays that I have to work. Last week, I was mainlining everything.
Oh, yeah.
I OD'd on football, even though it's impossible. The ticker was still ticking at 2:30 watching BYU stomp a mud hole in Kansas State. But anyways, this is normally how my experience works. I'm like looking at my phone, literally taking a peek as the day goes on during Saturday. So taking a peek, Taylor Green, always on the list. Hospital ball, got to be on the watch list here. At Kyle Field, too, could get a little testy. Taking a peek there.
Is it at Kyle Field? I thought this was played
No, that's
Jerry's
in Jerry
World.
World.
Oh, yeah,
That's a
my
neutral
bad.
site.
That random, we played this one on a neutral site because Jerry's rich.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Taylor Green absolutely mainstay. It kind of makes you, the news today kind of made me sad because Matthew Sluka was one of these taking a peek players for me.
No more peaks.
No more peaks for
Peak
him.
show's
But I'm going back to an old one of mine. Malik Murphy versus UNC. James Madison absolutely diced up that UNC secondary. Malik Murphy. It might get a little hot this weekend.
Yeah,
That was on my take a peek as a game.
I had that one as well, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 ACC teams that honestly aren't quite out of it.
100 points in this one?
Could be.
I
No,
wouldn't be
UNC,
surprised.
UNC can't
It
score
was a
that.
buck
You don't think
20
Manny
last
Diaz
week.
could lock him up?
Manny Diaz locking what up? No. I think this is. I'm taking the over in this football game no matter what. I don't know what it's set at. It better be north of 60. There's gonna be a lot of air yards in this football
That's what I'm
game.
hoping for.
UNC started the redshirt freshman last week. Number
Yeah, they're
12.
down to their third quarterback.
Yeah. I think I think he's going to be pretty good. He's big, physical, makes a lot of dumb rookie mistakes, but
Yeah.
that's to be expected. I think it's gonna be fun no matter what.
A lot of picks.
A lot of picks.
I'm taking a peek at USC versus Wisconsin. I want to see how USC kind of bounces back after
Sneaky football game.
After what was a really tough Big Ten loss. It's your second Big Ten challenge, and I think this is a really good opportunity for Lincoln Riley. And it's also going to be very indicative of what this USC team is made of. We've seen kind of Oklahoma and USC teams in the past where they lose that one game and it kind of just unravels. But I think that this USC team is a little bit different, and I want to see that.
Yeah, definitely a taking a peek game, but only for USC's offense because I'm not watching a lick of Wisconsin offense. Not
It's
a
bad.
chance.
You watch too much of it on film study. I feel like you get a little bias
Yeah.
based off what we do in here. As do I. I mean, when you get to watch it and see just how many errors in terms of execution and just offensive alignment, it's hard to love a team after watching
Yeah,
that.
it was bad with Tyler Van Dyke. It's going to be really bad with a backup quarterback.
I think this is a weekend to be taking a peek at a lot of really, really close football games. If there were ever a week to watch a red zone version of college football and see a bunch of really bad teams fight it out to win by 3, this would be the one. Y'all mentioned North Carolina at Duke. How about Colorado at UCF? Saturday. That's going to be one of those. Wisconsin at USC got mentioned here. There are a lot of football games. If you just go down the ESPN scores list in Division I football, a lot of football games with under 3-point spreads.
Yeah.
It's going to be a heavily, heavily tight contested weekend of college football.
Yeah, that's one of the more exciting weekends was when the games where you're like, I didn't really mean to care about this game. And then you end up watching, it's like, that's one of the best games I've seen. So that's exciting. Colorado's definitely always going to be on my take-a-peek list just because I think they are the most quintessential college football team, quote-unquote. I also had Kentucky and Ole Miss on there for some of the reasons we talked about earlier.
I don't think I get the CW, but I might be taking a peek at Northern Illinois at NC State just to see how truly bad the Wolfpack is.
It made my list as well. But I also want to take a peek at that football game because I just want to Tyler Shuck, I guess. I want to see it. I want to see it against one that's like a better defense. CFE is legit. Louisville's got something cooking on offense. I'm taking a peek at Maryland versus Indiana only for this reason. Tay Felton, a wide receiver for Maryland, 41 receptions, 604 yards, and 5 touchdowns on the season. Absolute burner right now.
Absolute loaded show. We got to hurry up. Let's pick one. Should we pick one? It's a new debut of this segment. Kirby, will you explain to the people how we're about to play Pick One?
So basically, you name 3 possible things that could happen, and you have to choose the one that's most likely to happen. Like, for example, the example I gave was most likely upset: Texas versus Mississippi State, Miami versus Virginia Tech, or Ole Miss versus Kentucky.
1, 2, 3. Ole Miss
Kentucky.
versus Kentucky. Yeah, we're all there. I think Mississippi State's got a shot and
No.
snowballs hell.
Yes.
Virginia
and
Tech,
Virginia
sneaky,
Tech, bro. Kyron Jones has played such bad football. Such
sneaky.
bad football. Not just the safety. It's been bad all
Very
around
sneaky.
for Vodtech. Pick one. Quarterback more likely to throw for 300 yards this weekend: Jalen Milroe, Luke Altmaier, or just Auburn?
Jalen
Auburn.
Milroe.
Auburn having 300 passing yards.
When's the last time Jalen Milroe threw for 300 yards? Will you look that up for me?
Yeah.
I bet he's done it maybe twice in his career.
I'm leaning Luke Altmaier on this, honestly.
I am too. But Penn State's defense is legit. How many times did Jalen Milroe throw for 300 yards?
I'm getting there.
Okay, my bad.
No, you're good.
It's under the game log section on Stat Reference.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting right now. Trust me, you don't have to mention that to me.
It's a stat guy.
You're going Luke Altmaier?
Yeah, well, I don't think Jalen. Look, Jalen Milroe is going up against one of the.
One time?
One time.
Who was it against? Vandy?
Uh,
No. Kentucky last year.
Texas A&M.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kentucky only had 234. The only reason I said Jalen Milroe is because the offense is explosive. I mean, a few chunk plays, you get there rather quickly.
I mean, it's I can see it happening, but I don't see it happening against Georgia's defense.
Fair. I mean, that's a tough list to choose from because I don't see a world where Illinois is getting 300 passing yards against Penn State. That's a tough list to choose from.
What do you got, J-Will?
Someone other than Ohio State wins the Big Ten. Travis Hunter wins the Heisman. Missouri misses the playoffs.
Missouri misses the playoffs.
I like someone other than Ohio State win the Big Ten. I think we all
When they going to get him? Championship game?
Yeah.
And who's it going to be? Oregon?
Could
Oregon's
be.
got a defensive front that can at least hold up against the run, you would imagine.
Yeah.
That's what's going to require to beat them this year.
It could be Oregon. It could be USC. It could be another Big Ten team. I'd like Ohio State getting upset at some point in this year, and it could be the Big Ten championship. I just don't know if what were the other two?
They were Travis Hunter wins the
Not
Heisman.
happening.
Missouri misses the playoffs.
I think we all jumped ship on Missouri way too quickly. That schedule is a little bit more difficult than it was at the start of the season. They still can just kind of sleepwalk through teams, I think, and they'll be 10-2.
Running back more likely to rush for 100 yards this weekend: Ollie Gordon, Donovan Edwards, or Travion Henderson?
Who's Ohio State have?
I'll look it up.
Okay.
I hope they're not in a bye.
I think they're playing
I'm
Michigan
curious.
State.
They are. That's right. Michigan
Oh,
State.
Travion Henderson.
Travion Henderson.
Think so?
Yeah.
Oh, Ollie Gordon has not been what people think he should be.
Yeah. Someone hopped in the YouTube comments and said it's because Mike Gundy shot all of his bullets last year. That, running backs only have so many hits. They only have so much explosiveness. I don't necessarily believe that to be the case.
I don't either.
I'm sure he's probably still got some juice in the legs at 22.
Yeah.
I would
not
hope
washed.
so. I know the running back shelf life is pretty short, but it ain't that short.
He's not washed. Don't worry.
No. So y'all all went Travion Henderson?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Donovan Edwards get right game.
Okay.
Could be.
Dude's got to bump that NFL stock up a little bit. Is he
Needs
first NFL back taken off the board?
Might be him or Ollie Gordon.
Or Quinshawn?
Yeah,
SECCG.
I would take Quinshawn Judkins or Donovan Edwards way before I took Ollie Gordon.
We gotta wait till the Underwear Olympics happen.
No, we
when-
don't. No, we don't. No, we don't.
That'll be what changes it though.
Maybe.
Clemson wins the ACC. Tennessee wins the SEC. Oregon wins the Big Ten.
Clemson wins the ACC.
Clemson wins the ACC.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that Clemson beats the one team they have to in Miami, as opposed to Tennessee going through Alabama, Georgia, and I think whoever they play in the SEC championship game if they win out. Right.
It's also Clemson's the only really proven commodity in that list. Like, we don't know how Oregon does in the Big Ten. Tennessee hasn't competed for an SEC championship in 20-some-odd years.
See, I didn't even want to go that route because I didn't want Tennessee fans already up in my shit.
Oh, you're afraid of the commenters.
Oh,
now,
I'm
aren't you?
shook. I'm shook to death. Did you see the tweet that I got tagged in?
Yeah, you got
I
AI,
honestly,
bro.
that's a failure on me for not screenshotting that and putting that on the screen right now.
Yeah, probably.
That was crazy. Yeah,
It was going to come up at some point.
That was absolutely wild.
What do you think they had to type in to prompt that AI?
Ugly fat guy with glasses cries with whiteboard that says "shut up and grind tape."
I think there may have been a little more added into that.
Probably a fupa added into that description. Man had one on him.
There is a possibility that, like, Then you just say, draw me a picture of Brooks Austin crying.
That's crazy.
Welcome to the future, bro.
I don't know if that's fair to be doing to me right about now. I'm lighter than I've ever been. I'm lighter than I've been since I was a sophomore in high school.
Hell yeah, man. Congratulations.
Yeah. Little glow up for the kid.
Nice.
Love it.
Still ugly as sin. Are we good with pick one?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
We'll
let's
do Would
move
You
on.
Rather?
Yeah, let's do Would You Rather. We're going to skip Heisman odds update. We'll do that tomorrow, okay? We're a little bit pinned up on it right now.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. I got good ones here. Would you rather have Georgia's remaining schedule with Oklahoma's quarterback room, or would you rather play Oklahoma's remaining schedule with Carson Beck as your quarterback? Do you want to hear the schedules?
Let's hear it.
Yes.
Georgia's got at Bama, at Texas, at Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Georgia Tech's on the list. I left out the automatic wins that you would assume. Oklahoma's got at Auburn, Texas, South Carolina, at Ole Miss, Maine, at Mizzou, Bama, at LSU.
I would love to see an Oklahoma team that has a
Serviceable quarterback and that defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean with Beck and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because bad quarterback play, I don't care how good your roster is, you can't overcome it.
Taking bad quarterback play into Tuscaloosa, Austin, Texas, and then the Grove is not ideal.
You basically would have to tell – you're basically telling yourself that in Alabama, in the Alabama and Texas games, you have to hold both of those teams to like 21 points at most to have a chance at winning that football game.
Would you rather put prime Cam Newton on this year's Auburn team or prime Johnny Manziel on this year's A&M team?
I would take prime Cam Newton over anybody. Anybody.
Well, according to Hugh Freeze.
From a I want to win standpoint and I want to watch standpoint. Johnny was fun because Johnny was doing all the antics and all the storylines that followed behind him. But from a football superhero's perspective, there's no more fun watch than Cam Newton.
Yeah, and according to Hugh Freeze, that would solve all of their issues. They would have a quarterback that could hit an open man.
That's very true.
Even though not the most accurate quarterback that's ever played.
No.
Not at all. Would you rather put the house on Arkansas winning this weekend or Oklahoma? Again, Arkansas plays Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm. And Oklahoma plays at Auburn. Give me Oklahoma at Auburn.
Yeah. That offense is just bad for Auburn.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I'm picking Texas A&M if I had to right now. Would you rather be a Notre Dame fan right now tied to Marcus Freeman for the foreseeable future or an LSU fan right now tied to Brian Kelly for the foreseeable future?
Give me LSU fan tied to Brian Kelly because you at least had some idea of, hey, things can go very well under Brian Kelly. We can beat the Alabamas of the world. We can make it to the SEC championship. We can have star players. We can have a Heisman winner. Marcus Freeman hasn't really shown you he can do much of anything other than maybe get you to a 10-win season, 9 wins, but he's also going to give you a really, really bad loss. I mean, Marshall, NIU. So I would rather have Brian Kelly, even though I think both are underachieving at the moment.
Want to say this, probably should say this off air. The chat is getting a whole lot more active, as you guys know. We have admins that are watching, but we don't know how many admins are always watching. You two are admins. You're here. If you see something, take care of it. Okay?
Word.
Would you rather be Hugh Freeze's starting quarterback or Brian Harson's recruiting assistant?
Oh, God.
What was the first one?
Hugh Freeze's starting quarterback or Brian Harson's recruiting assistant? Tough.
Hugh Freeze's quarterback?
Yeah?
No, I'm not too confident in that answer, though.
Hugh Freeze's quarterback might work again. I don't know if the recruiting assistant is. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Does she have a job right now?
I have no clue.
No idea.
I couldn't tell you.
I'm sure she was good at what she
sure
was
she's
doing.
got a podcast.
Would you rather see USC win out or Penn State win out this season?
Oh, yeah, USC. I'd rather watch that football than Penn State
Amen.
football.
Amen.
I think my attitude for that,
No.
even when they're good, they look gross.
Penn State and Alabama both just two awful uniforms.
See, I don't mind the Alabama uniform.
Why? It's essentially Penn State's with numbers on the helmet. And
Yeah,
a
but it's not
maroon-
blue and white.
Maroon color.
What's wrong with blue and white?
Mm-hmm.
It's better colors
Too
than
basic.
crimson and white, in my opinion.
To each their own.
Would you rather have 2 G5 teams make the playoff or 2 Big 12 teams make the playoff?
What's the difference?
Exactly.
That's pretty good stuff right there. What else we got?
Would you rather have Ole Miss's offense with UNC's defense or Oklahoma's offense with Ohio State's defense?
One more time.
Ole Miss's offense with UNC's defense or Oklahoma's offense with Ohio State's defense?
Give me Ole Miss's offense.
Wait, you just explained Oklahoma football in general. I mean,
Fair.
Ohio State's a top 3 defense. Oklahoma's a top 8 one.
But you're slightly better.
Give me the first option.
Yeah, I'd go. At least if you're going to lose a lot of games, make them fun and score a lot of points.
Yeah, if we're going to
That's
lose, let's lose 48-47, not 10-2.
Yeah.
And you just described the early 2010s of Georgia football.
Would you rather me tell you right now today who wins the Big 12 or the ACC?
ACC.
Yeah, tell me who wins the ACC.
I
don't
can at least
care.
narrow
I don't,
that
I
down
don't
to
care
2.
who's winning the Big 12.
I can narrow the ACC down to 2. Big 12 still feels wide open right now.
Here's my favorite one. Would you rather pay for a Peacock subscription just to watch Louisville versus Notre Dame or get paid $5 to watch Army versus Temple?
Give me my $5.
Yeah, I'd take the $5. I mean, I'm already subscribed to Peacock.
That's
So-
That's not how Would You Rather works. You have to once again buy a Peacock subscription.
Yeah, I'd rather lose the or get the $5 than
That's
lose
a gas
the $5.
station stop.
Is it though nowadays?
I mean, it'll get you 2 energy drinks.
Attaboy. Guy likes my style right there. I lied. These Heisman updates, man. Cam Ward's the favorite to win the Heisman right now.
Yeah, but I didn't realize how many passing yards he and also Jackson Dart already had. I think Jackson Dart already has 1,300 plus.
Let these boys play one team with a pulse, and those odds will come tumbling down, I can assure you.
So just to refresh everybody here, Cam Ward plus 350, Dart plus 500, Jalen Milroe plus 750, Nico still at plus 1,000. I think those are good odds right there. Dylan Gabriel at plus 1,200, Quinn Ewers at plus 1,400, Carson Beck at plus 1,500, Travis Hunter at plus 1,700. And your stance before the show, Kirby, is that this picture about the Heisman Trophy is going to get a little bit clearer after this week.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday you have a lot of guys that are getting really good odds right now. You have a couple of guys that are falling down the list. The marquee matchups, the important games don't usually happen in September. It's very rare that you see a Georgia-Alabama type game in September. Now, albeit it's the last weekend of September. Let the third Saturday in October come. Let games like that where it's 2 top 10 juggernauts playing. That's where you're going to see guys rise to the top, and that's where you're going to see also guys kind of fall down. I think Miami's hardest 3 games are still ahead of them. They haven't played their hardest games at all. Cam Ward's probably going to have a bad performance. Miami's probably going to lose a game this season. Same can be said for Ole Miss. Same can be said for a lot of these other teams, whereas Georgia's best win is still ahead of them. Alabama's best win is still ahead of them. There's a lot of teams where you can raise your odds just simply by beating a good team.
I think Cam Ward's going to be at the top of these odds until the ACC championship game. As the chat's pointing out right now, they've got 1 ranked opponent on their schedule remaining. They're going to blow through everybody. And then they're going to get to the ACC championship. I mean, we're not.
Are we stamping
They
that?
should. On paper, they're going to blow through everybody.
That's fine.
They don't have a competent opponent. They have one singular ranked opponent. So he should handle business. We won't really know what his Heisman moment is until the ACC championship game. Whereas you talked about it, third Saturday in October, 4 of these guys on this list have an opportunity to make a massive move here, right? Jalen, Nico, and Georgia and Texas play that same weekend. So there's a lot more guys on this list that have big football games on national television that maybe Miami doesn't have.
If Ole Miss beats the crap out of South Carolina next week, I probably would start taking Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
But the only thing about Jackson Dart,
Then why not take him now before the odds move? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and get in.
sure. I mean, yeah, I get that. But as far as saying like someone who might start separating themselves and someone who I would like already this early on in the season to potentially win it, I would say that. But the only bad thing about Jackson Dart is he has a late season game against Georgia, and that game last year against Georgia, I mean, that would plummet your Heisman odds. So if he kind of has one of those repeat performances again against Georgia, then you're losing out at a very late chance.
He's got 1,300 yards on 83% completion percentage right now.
Sounds like Bo Nix.
Yeah. Except he's throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I'm good. Y'all good?
Yeah.
Hey, we got a whole nother hour coming up right now. We'll see you in a second.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into the Film Guy Network for another loaded hour for you guys right here. I want to start the local hour with a little better play here. We're 3-1 on better right now. We're up $185 over on better. If you've been playing every play that we've gotten you or given to you, you'd be up big right now. You'd be up big. So here we go. We got a play for you guys to start the local hour. All right, we're going to take a look at this Georgia-Alabama game. I have been playing Trevor Etienne overs all year. I'm going to stick on it right now. Give me the 70.5. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take this 13.5 receiving yards under. What do you think about that?
That's interesting.
70.5 rushing yards, take the over, or 13.5 receiving yards, take the under?
I'd probably take the under.
All right, let's take the under. Does he have more than 13.5 receiving yards in a singular game this year? I don't think he does. So. All right, so we're going to take that one. Let's go down to an Alabama projection. All right, let's take Jalen Milroe. I'm not doing 249 over. 204 passing yards, boys.
That's
tough, isn't it?
That's
Georgia's been
right.
giving up like 196 this year.
Etienne had 14 against Tennessee Tech and 11 against Kentucky.
It's one catch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I maybe would take the rushing yards.
All right, let's go back and take the rushing yards. All right, let's go back up here. Let's nix that. All right, let's go take the over on rushing yards. We think he's going to be a horse this weekend. All right, I'm staying away from Alabama running backs because they split carries, and you never really know which one's the hot hand. 45.5 receiving yards for Ryan Williams. That's a singular catch at this point.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, let's take the over there. All right. All you need is 2. Let's do the perfect play over there on better. Let's put a dub on it. 20 wins you 60. Again, 3-1 on these plays on the year. Let's try to go to 4-1 on the season. If you're out here going multiple games over 500, multiple plays over 500 on a parlay system, buddy, you a dog. You're an absolute dog. So let's see if we can stay and remain a dog. Remember, head over to Better right now. As you can see on the screen, use promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $250 on your first deposit. Again, using promo code Brooks. All right, boys, we got a loaded local hour for you. We got set the props. We got positional previews. I went back and rewatched the SEC championship game. How important is this game for Carson Beck's legacy? Could losing this game actually be beneficial? Spin zone and players to watch tonight. Where do we want to start?
Let's do. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about last year's game.
All right, went back and watched it today with the Patreon audience, Patreon-only film study over there, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Spent about 30 minutes with those guys today, 35 minutes with those guys today, going back, looking at the SEC championship game, and I got notes for you here. I was curious to see one thing, and the only thing that really can be translatable is how did they try to defend Milroe himself. All right, I didn't really take too much into account, like, hey, are they running the same kind of routes or is their run game similar? We're going to talk about some of that stuff, but I really went in just trying to wonder and find out, hey, what did Schumann do defensively to try to limit this guy, or how did he attack this guy? And there's lots and lots of spies on the field immediately, right? And lots of speed on the field for Georgia in that SEC championship game last year. To start the game, the first third down possession, I saw a freshman Gabe Harris on the field, a freshman Damon Wilson on the field, Michael Williams at the nose, and 2 stand-up linebackers in C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson spying him. As much speed as Georgia could possibly put on the field last year on third down, that's what they went. Now, they mixed a lot of the packages and mixed a lot of the looks, ran some man, ran some zone. The only way they could possibly trust themselves to run man coverage is if they spied 2 guys and only rushed 3. That was kind of interesting to note on that film study as well. The other thing that was really, really noticeable on this defensive film from Georgia, Georgia wasn't Georgia at the inside linebacker position last year in this football game. They were not anywhere close to where they are now or even the Georgia standard at the linebacker position. JDJ was out in that football game. Smile Mondon was a shell of himself. I mean, just was not healthy at all. Xavier Sorey got employed in that football game and got thrown out there, having not really played all year. I think the last time he had played was week 3 in a real role. C.J. Allen had kind of taken up most of his snaps, but he gets thrown into the mix in this game. C.J. Allen's a true freshman in this game and playing like one. We saw a number of misreads and miskeys and missteps from that guy in that film study. And Raylan Wilson obviously played like a freshman in that game as well. Gave up a massive explosive due to having lost his assignment on a play-action pass. So you are much, much better at that position than you were last year. I thought the defense played really, really well in that game despite all of the things that they were having to account for and despite all of the injuries. We'll talk about one of the areas that everyone pointed to in terms of not good enough last year here in a second, because I don't want to make an excuse for somebody, but I think there's an excuse to be delivered for Nazir Stackhouse. But played really, really well, and you bowed your neck on the defensive side of the football in the one moment in the game where you had to. That turnover in your own end, Alabama's gifted the football at the 18-yard line. You go, 3 plays, no gain yards, automatic settle for a field goal. That's as good as you can ask your defense to respond in a moment like that. Now let's talk about Nas. I don't know if he was hurt. I don't know if something was going on. Did not look like Nazir Stackhouse. Not the Nazir Stackhouse we've seen on tape for 30 games now at this point. The firing off the ball wasn't there. The willingness to strike and bring contact wasn't there. And this is a football player who, say what you want about his top-end ability, whether or not he's Jordan Davis, he's not. Whether or not he's Jalen Carter, he's not. But what he is a tough physical football player that's manageable and winnable in the SEC, and he did not look like that in that SEC championship game, and he's looked like that every other time he's walked onto the field. So I don't expect that type of performance from Nazir Stackhouse in this football game.
It seemed like, and I haven't rewatched that game, but being there and watching it, it seemed like everyone was kind of not playing like themselves for reasons of either it was they've got injuries they're dealing with or they weren't mentally there all the way. Like Brock, obviously injury. Ladd, injury. Marius, injury. We talked about all the others. I mean, and again, Nas, guys like that. Even Carson Beck didn't really look like himself for that first half of the game. It was very interesting to watch.
Yeah, Brock's hurt in that game. Ladd's hurt in that game. No JDJ. Smiles hurt in that game. And Marius Mims taps his helmet possession in. Those are 5 starters for that
Starks
for that
dealing with
football
something
team.
Too?
I can't quite remember. I saw him on the tape. He was playing.
No, I know he was playing, but I felt like there was something. I can't remember.
I mean, that's at the end of the year. You expect injuries to play a role in that football game. Obviously, no excuses for the performance in that one. Just kind of looking at it towards this season, I'll be honest, guys. I wish I would have watched that prior to a Tuesday prediction. It's part of the reason why we hate doing predictions on Tuesday. I'm going to stand 10 toes down on my prediction anyways. But I don't think there are. I think it's 27-24, which is what, 51 points. There's not going to be 51 points scored in this football game. I'll stand on it. I'll stay by Alabama winning this game. I don't feel very good about it. Not after watching that yesterday in terms of being right. I also think watching that, you have to give Alabama's offensive coordinating staff this year a lot of credit for how much better of a runner they've made Jalen Milroe.
For sure.
By product of not making it so complex on him. So, yeah, there's that. I'll stand on it. I don't feel good about it. Georgia's way better on defense right now than they were in this football game last year.
Well, to be fair to you, I think if anyone feels good about the prediction they're making, either way, they're being completely delusional. This is one of those games where if you told me whoever wins, I wouldn't be surprised. It's 50-50. It's a toss-up.
Yeah. I think I agree with this statement of anybody picking a one-score football game, you're in the right state of mind for heading into this matchup.
Somebody commented 31-20, don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah, honestly.
No, not honestly. It's not an 11-point spread in this football game.
You don't think so?
No. I think this is down to the wire. Last possession wins.
I think it's that way until someone gets that final touchdown. It's like, all right, well, there's the game.
Yeah, that's the only way I could see it happening.
Have y'all went back and watched that, or do you remember that football game? What were your takeaways from, and what can you apply? What would you try to apply from that game to this?
It seemed like, and we all talk about the Jalen Milroe comment and all the things like that. Georgia came into that game with kind of a sense of, we're the big boys now. We're the team to beat. Got punched in the mouth pretty early, and then did not know how to handle it.
I think that the way people remember that football game is neither side of the like. I think that just because Georgia lost, people kind of assume that Georgia's defense didn't play that well, because I felt like Jalen Milroe made some big plays with his legs. And then on the offensive side of the football, I think people felt like Georgia's offense did not play as well as they did. And I think that has to do with the fact that one of your possessions was taken from you because you fumbled in your own end, which you talked about led to a field goal. But I think that, and we didn't watch the offense, but watching the defense, it did make me think of Georgia's defense played well in that football game. Definitely played well enough for you to win that football game.
Weren't you 0 for 3 on 3rd and 2?
Yeah.
In this
Yes.
football game?
You ran the same play twice, I believe. Just flipped it. I
Truck
believe.
toss.
It was also a game you didn't get a lot of the breaks.
No.
Obviously, the Isaiah Bond catch or not, that's one that didn't
Fumble
go your
in your
way.
own
The
end.
fumble in your own end zone, that's shooting yourself in the foot. Alabama didn't really have those moments. So that's one of the other things I remember vividly from that game. And you can say all those things that went wrong, you still lost by 3, and it was still a fourth quarter sweater. So
Missed a field goal, too?
I believe so, yeah.
Peyton Wintering missed his first field goal all year
Mm-hmm.
since the first game.
Yeah.
There's a lot that went wrong in that game for Georgia. You had the only turnover. You had the only special teams mistake. Busted an assignment that's uncharacteristic on defense. There's a lot
That halfback pass,
cost,
right?
Yeah, and you're the best third down team in the country, and you can't convert 3 3rd and 2s.
Yep.
That's statistically an anomaly last year at least. This year they obviously have struggled a little bit offensively. I would say stumbled out of the gates offensively. Things have changed. We got a question here from Chris Chafin, $20 super sub. Appreciate you, Chris, for that. Do y'all think UGA may be in a lose-lose situation versus Bama? Could public perception of UGA wins be, quote, sure they beat Bama, but it's Bama's first year under a new staff, and if UGA loses, Kirby/UGA still can't beat Bama, etc. I'll tell you this, Chris. You win that football game Saturday, you don't give a shit what the narrative is, right? But I do think I think Bama fans are going to be out here going, well, Saban had to get out of here for a little bro to even get one, so all that nonsense. But I don't think you care from a narrative standpoint.
The only thing that you care about is that you won the first of the big 3. That's the only thing that you
Big
should
4.
care. Big 4 now.
Big 4. Massive 4. I think I'm a little more worried about Tennessee than Ole Miss. Got to have a defense.
That's at home, though. That's the only reason why I would.
You're right. Set the props?
Let's do it.
Let's set the props. All right, here we go. Trevor Etienne over under 15 carries.
That's a lot of carries in this game.
I'll say over.
I want to go.
I say over because I think that this is going to be a football game where you have to trust your top guys in the rooms. I think that Trevor Etienne is going to get a good bit of run in this football game. When you are running the football, when you're going to try and find something in the run game, it's going to be through Trevor Etienne. I think the Kentucky game, while I know that was kind of a weird game in itself, I think that did kind of show that when you need to make offensive plays, when you need to make something happen, it was Trevor Etienne that was getting tapped and put in the football game.
And one thing we know, in these football games, the rotation will get narrowed.
Yes.
The rotation will get narrowed. They played 4 wide receivers against Clemson. That was by design. Well, it was a 5th when London Humphreys had to go in because Dylan Bell was out with cramps. But they narrow the lineups in these tight, heavily big boy football games, especially on the road. So, could definitely see the over on 15. Are you going over as well? You said push.
I kind of want to go under, honestly, because it just seems to me like Alabama knows that from here on out, defenses are going to know, okay, they want to give Trevor Etienne the ball.
Yeah.
Being able to switch up that pace and have a Branson Robinson come in and a Nate Frazier, a guy who has shown you that he can be a very, very explosive running back, I think might be good for him. I think Nate Frazier can get upwards of 10 carries in this game, which obviously would mean less for Etienne. I'll go over on it.
80 yards total.
For Etienne?
Yeah.
Total?
Let's go rushing yards. 80 rushing yards for Trevor Etienne in this football game. Over or under? I'm going over. I could see 15 for 85. Because all that really takes is like a 4-yard average with one 20-yard breaker. And we're there. And that's what I think is going to happen on Saturday.
I think he's good for 75 every game. That's kind of where I feel like Etienne is at. So I'll say over for that then.
I'll go over for it.
Jalen Milroe, 65 yards rushing.
Here's the problem.
Includes sacks.
I was to say, here's the problem with that. Jalen Milroe's going to get sacked.
20-yard dumpers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then again, Jalen Milroe could also have a 45-yard scramble in this game, and it's all null and void for that.
Or an 80-yard scramble.
Yeah. So I don't know about 80.
I'll go under.
I'll go
You
under.
go under?
I'll go under as well. I think that Georgia's defense is going to get after him enough.
I'm going to go over for this reason. This is a must-win football game. Feels like that. They're going to deploy this dude's legs. This dude's going to get 12 design running back or quarterback runs.
Oh, well,
12 easy.
That's funny.
I bet there's 7 by first half.
That's funny because one of my questions was Jalen Milroe design carries 10.
Over. Slammed the over.
Over.
Anybody got one? Carson Beck, 275 yards passing. Over or under? I think it's about the line that Better has it at as well. I think they're right at around 255.
See, this strikes me as a game where they're not gonna ask Carson Beck to go out and sling the rock, because the way it strikes to me is you would
defenses have the way defenses have been daring Georgia to throw the football deep, in my opinion. 3 weeks in, Clemson closed the middle of the field, played cover 3. They're saying, hey, we're gonna just these 3 guys are gonna keep everything in front of us today, huh? Really? That's what y'all gonna do? Then Kentucky played 7 guys in the box, played quarters almost all night, played quarters match almost all night. Though they had 2 safeties in the back end, they really only guarded, however many guys you ran into the routes. They were really only having 4 guys out there covering. So teams have kind of pressed Georgia's hand and said, we're going to take Etienne away and let's see what you can do today. So I don't know.
You said at 265?
275.
275.
275.
I'll take over. I could see him going for 280 in this game. But
It's a massive game.
But
for
he's
him,
not
man.
going to throw the ball more than 35 times.
We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but it is a massive game for Carson Beck.
Yeah.
Not just from a Georgia standpoint, but from an NFL standpoint as well.
Mm-hmm.
Number of explosives in this football game, I'm going to set it at 6.5. This is total explosives,
So
both sides of the
teams?
ball. Both sides of the ball.
This is 20 yards.
20
or more.
plus yarders.
I'll go over that. I'll go over that. That's one big run on each team. There's 2 right there. And then there's 3 big plays on
In
each
the passing game?
Yeah, that's
On
that's
either side.
I could find both of these teams matching up for that.
20 yards, yes, is an explosive play. Yeah, it's
No.
not a holy shit, they should get points out of this drive. I mean, Dom Lovett can take a screen for 25, and it be a fairly well-covered screen. So I'll go over on that.
Yeah, I mean, that could just be as simple as you're on your own 10-yard line. You get it to the 30, you flip field position. So
Mhm.
This is a highly contested line right there. I see a toss-up in the chat between overs and unders on that one.
Number of turnovers in this game.
What are you setting it at?
I have
1.5?
I have it at 2. 2.5.
I'll take the under. I think there's going to be 1 turnover in this game.
Really?
just one.
Just one?
These teams play really, really clean football. Milroe hasn't thrown an interception in 7 games. That blows my mind. Because I can point out 4 or 5 times against Wisconsin where I'm like, ooh, that ball should be picked. So it's crazy.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
He's not playing Wisconsin this time.
I know. But he ain't been playing Wisconsin the last 7 times. This ain't like he was turnover free last week. He's been turnover free through the air for a long time. Half of a season.
I was going to say there's going to be 2 turnovers in this game is what I felt like.
That's what I'm thinking.
So I'm going to say that. I think that there's 2, and it could be, and I don't know if it's going to be 1 by each team. It could be 2 by one team. I don't know, but I feel like there's going to be 2, but I don't think it gets more than 2.
Yeah, because you have to remember, yes, Jalen Milroe has not thrown an interception in 7 games. He has a propensity to put the ball on the ground.
Yeah. Has he been strip sacked this year?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't know for a fact, though.
I know the one fumble was against USF on the goal line. Random under center snap there.
Number of red zone drives that result in field goals, over 2.5.
I was going to say 3.
That's what I
I
was
was going to say
thinking.
3. 2 for Georgia, 1 for Bama. And a fail to convert on 4th down for
You think
Bama.
Georgia's going to have a less effective red zone offense than Bama will?
No, I just told you where I was going with there.
Okay.
I said a fail to convert on 4th down
Ah, okay.
in the red zone.
Yeah, that's where Bama has failed to score twice in the red zone this season. They have 11 total attempts.
Both on downs?
Both of them have been turning it over on downs.
Yeah. The reason being, in my opinion, they got the quarterback's legs.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing 11-on-11 football, whereas most teams are playing 10-on-11 in the red zone.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be 4-down territory for you?
Exactly.
I'm trying to think. Other than last year, this game has been fairly turnover heavy.
Only on Georgia's end, really. Over the last several years. I mean, Stetson had multiple picks
Bryce
in all
threw
those
2
games.
picks.
Bryce had 2 picks in the Natty.
Yeah.
Almost should have had a fumble in the 2021 SEC championship game.
N'Kobe Dean Jordan Davis play.
Uh,
Yeah, that was definitely a fumble.
Mac Jones had 2 picks in the 2020 game.
Okay.
I know his first pass was a pick.
I can't
So
go
was
back to that
Stetson's.
one.
Mm-hmm.
A tipped ball.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was a very weird game.
Extremely
The
weird.
Stetson's too short allegations. Good times.
Yeah, that was
Good
that day.
times.
I thought it was the Stetson's playing too tall. Stetson's trying to play like a superhero in that football game.
Yeah.
Top wide receiver for Georgia, over under 70 yards. I can't name a guy going into a game where I'm like, leading receiver today.
Yeah, it's weird. They
I
don't-
know Dom's going to get 7 targets, 8 targets, but outside of that, I don't know who's going to be the yardage leader, but it tends to be around 70.
Yeah, they don't have one really. It's not like a. It just so happens to be like, okay, today's Dom Lovitz day, today's Colby Young's day, today's Dylan Bell day. Like there
Granted,
isn't-
we're only 3 games in, but yeah,
but it was
you're
this
right.
way last year too.
No, Brock was the guy.
But I'm talking about for the receiver.
Oh, yeah.
Receiver room. Like there's never been a guy in the receiver room where it's like, all right, that's the dude. So I'll go under on this.
All right. Do we have any more? I have one question I want to ask because the chat's kind of hitting on it.
Let's hear it.
Who's the most underutilized player at Georgia right now? Who's the guy when you look at the roster, you're like, we have got to find ways to get this guy on the field more? I think there's one answer.
The common answer is Anthony Evans.
It is.
And the
It's
reason
100%.
why
That's what I was fishing for.
And the reason why I'm saying it's Anthony Evans because every time that dude touches the ball, good things happen. I mean, every single time. And he shows it on punt returns every time. He showed it in the Florida State game. He showed it in the Alabama game. When you get the ball in his hands, he's making something happen with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like in these games, just give him a couple touches. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to be putting him out there a whole lot, but find ways to get that dude the ball because he makes plays.
The only other one I think you could make an argument for is Nate Frazier because Nate Frazier, the one game where it was like, all right, we're going to give you have to have a good game. We're going to give you enough opportunities to get hot. He torched Clemson's defense. And he's always had, good plays. He always hits the hole hard, but it's always, okay, he got 3 carries intermittently throughout this game and then got 2 in the fourth quarter. He's never really had a chance to get heated up. I think if you have a Nate Frazier, Trevor Etienne 1-2 punch, things can get really, really dangerous for Georgia's run game. I like what they do by committee, but I think sometimes it's to a fault because there isn't really ever anyone who gets to get going.
Maybe Colby Young.
Yeah, that was the other name I was going to throw out there.
You think so?
Is this the week? Is this the week we stop trying to make Dylan Bell an X receiver?
Maybe.
It's got to be. You had the bye week. Colby Young's been here since, February?
Yeah.
January? He should know the offense right now. He should know not just the playbook, but he should know the ins and outs of it by now. And this is the game after a bye week where we start to get Dylan Bell some real touches, not, hey, you're an X receiver today. Let's make you do something that you're not great at, which is beat man coverage.
I would
Yeah.
agree with that.
I'm spoiling it. He's a player to watch for me. I need this to happen as an analyst. I need to see you. Hey, we recruited a 6'4", 205-pound true X. Let him play X. Stop making Deebo Samuel your X because you have to right now. We're progressing through the season. I think Colby Young might be ready. That's what I would hope for if I were a Georgia fan right now.
Yeah, I feel like he is one of those guys that you want to get more attempts to because every time you throw the ball to him, he hasn't let you down. I mean, he's executed every time. Carson Beck seems to know where to put it when he throws it to him as well. So I would say try and get more touches. I mean, it feels like you could say that about every wide receiver. Though. Like we want more.
But with Dylan specifically, I know he had the great game against Tennessee where there was a back game. I know it was great. He's going to be best used as Deebo Samuel. He is Deebo Samuel, or could be. Not is. Deebo Samuel never played X in college.
No.
Shouldn't have. Doesn't need to. Neither does Dylan.
So
Unless by necessity, which the first 3 games I understand it was by necessity. Maturation, growth. We got to mix this in.
So then here's the tinfoil hat fan question.
I thought you were going to ask me if that was sourced information.
No. Here's a tinfoil hat fan question of, is that something that Georgia purposefully did to where we're not going to have this on tape to where, okay, they're going to have this guy at the Z, Colby Young's going to be their X. This is what we need to plan for.
The sourced part of this, and this is why I made the joke, the sourced part of this was that this was going to be maybe an in-season thing that they had to grow into.
Mm-hmm.
That they would have just rolled Colby Young out there week 1 as an X, but they didn't feel he was 100% competent with everything going on in the offense. And you saw them, I think, personally, as the 3 games have progressed, we've seen him deplored more and more when they know for a fact they're getting man coverage. Guess what they know they're going to get a lot of this week? They're going to get a lot of man-to-man coverage. So I think this is one by necessity. You got to make this move, or at least be show a willingness to do it. Okay. Any more props?
That's all I got.
No, yeah, that's all I had.
All right, the question in the chat and the question in the show notes is just how important is this game for Carson Beck's legacy?
Yeah,
I love legacy talk. I love doing this.
Felt like sarcasm.
It was 100% sarcasm.
Well, here's the thing: the early stages of this in the bye week last week was a lot of people were talking about, if Kirby Smart loses this game, what does it mean for him? Trying to make that a storyline where Kirby has something to lose in this game. Kirby won 2 natties. He beat Bama. He doesn't have to answer that. But on the other hand, Carson Beck has not really had a proven legacy as Georgia's quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I were to ask you, what's Carson Beck's best win, Carson Beck's best performance, I don't think you could really say that.
Auburn on the road?
Yeah, a 27-20 game
where we gave Brock Bowers 12 targets.
Mm-hmm. So
that ball to Ladd McConkey was sick as shit, though.
Oh yeah, he has good moments in that, but like if that's your best performance, that's not great. So this game is going to be exceptionally important.
Maybe Ole Miss at home.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a really good football game. What was the other one?
But my point is, you have to sit there and think about it. Like, you ask Stetson, what's Stetson's one of the natties? Like, immediately you can answer, or Ohio State. Like, there's plenty that you can choose from. Carson Beck doesn't really have this, and I think that if you come in this game and you lose, even if you have a solid performance where it's, you throw for 260, a touchdown or 2, people are gonna really look at you and be like, Carson Beck didn't maximize his potential here. We all heard about how, this guy doesn't ever make the wrong decision. He's got an even stronger arm than Stetson, and you just haven't seen him be able to take the top off of defenses yet. Whereas if you do go into Bama, you do beat him in Tuscaloosa, you do something that hasn't been done in 15 years, people are going to be looking at Carson Beck like, oh, my God, he actually is an elite quarterback. This is terrifying to see what a Georgia football team looks like with a true NFL first-round caliber quarterback.
The only thing I would say to this is there's only one quarterback since probably Matthew Stafford that has created their legacy in year 1. That's Jake Fromm, because he was helped take the team to a national title. Stetson Bennett, it didn't happen in year 1. Aaron Murray, it did not happen in year 1.
Nope.
Matthew Stafford, I can't exactly remember if it happened in year 1, but I'm going to say no. So it's typically been year 1, you kind of see the tools that they have. You kind of see how they're utilized, what they're made of. And then year 2, that's when they kind of start stacking these performances of, okay, this guy, this is what his legacy is looking like right now. Here's the big-time games. This is certainly this moment for Beck.
This is a legacy-defining win if it happens, right? No different than Stetson's natties.
For sure.
This would be, you beat Bama on the road. Like you said, first time in 15 years. This would be a massive, put him potentially on the Rushmore type of win, in my opinion. Because you already know statistically he's going to end up there. Or from a completion standpoint, from a draft status standpoint.
Yards per season.
He's going to be up there in that discussion. In terms of stamped big-time wins, this would be the one. This would be a massive one. My man Turn in the Flat asked me multiple times, why are they going to get a lot of man-to-man coverage this week? That's what Bama plays. They've played 100 snaps of man-to-man defense so far throughout the season.
We can go into that. I mean, I know the answer. Why do teams prefer running man? These upper echelon defenses.
Well, if the coverage is tight, the only thing that beats it is a perfect ball. You're forcing the quarterback to beat you.
Well, it's also I always took it as we're going to bet on our athletes.
Yeah,
we believe we have really, really talented defensive backs.
My guys over
which
yours.
They do, yeah. It messes up with all the confusion. It takes away the confusion of zones and the exploitations of it. One guy on one guy, and we believe in our guy. That's
if every defensive coordinator had their opportunity, say, hey, I'm giving you an All-American roster, and it's built exactly how you want, what would you play? They'd say 2-man. 2 high safeties because we're so big with the front 6 that we can stop it, and we're so good at corner and nickel that we can play man coverage everywhere else. That's what every defensive coordinator and their mama would want to be doing if they could. But also, or a lot of teams can't do that, obviously.
Right.
I did get – have I talked about Malachi Moore?
I think maybe I can't
did
remember.
on film notes yesterday. Did get a little intel from a little birdie. It was like, hey, 13, can't really run. I think that might be something that you attack as an offense from Georgia. A unison from you two. Been a while. Been around each other for a little while, huh?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of time.
Could a loss benefit you here?
Yeah, what's this? I'm interested to hear this.
Spin
take.
this.
Well, it's not even really a spin other than, I mean, think about – raise your hand if you think this is the only time these two teams will play this season.
I mean, it's so hard to know now. So hard to know. If there were still divisions, I would tell you absolutely no. If there were still East and West, I would tell you there's 0 chance this is the only time they play. But now that there are no divisions and it's just the top 2 teams in the SEC, I would say that I could envision this being the only time.
It's definitely possible. It certainly is. But I'd like to bank on – I think it's more likely these teams play 3 times this year than they only play once. And
This weekend, SEC championship game and playoff?
And honestly, if you were going to tell me that Alabama and Georgia play 3 times this season, I wouldn't really want to win the first game. Because
he played chess. He played chess over here today.
Think of it this way. How hard is it to beat a team 2 times in a season? Washington was the outlier of this, and LSU did it at Georgia in 2003. Other than that, and Auburn in 2010. Other than that, it's not that doesn't happen that much. Georgia went 1-1 in 2017, went 1-1 in 2021. Bama went 1-1 with LSU in 2011. Like, it happens a lot where you lose the first time, you get your get-back game and you win. And I don't know if you want to be the get-back game here. Now, obviously, if you're guaranteed to win all these games, and you would much rather bank on winning on Saturday and not having to worry about them again, but
Double spin zone. This is the get-back game for Georgia.
it is, in a way.
I would say that losing this game doesn't benefit you because if you lose to Texas and Ole Miss, it doesn't matter anyways. Then you're not going to get another chance likely to play Alabama again. So I think that while it maybe could be a benefit in that scenario where you go and play Alabama again, that also means that you have to win out or only lose one more game. So I would rather just, I think fans would rather just win this game for the sake of beating Alabama and then also moving on with your season with an undefeated record still, having everything in front of you. Possibilities are still completely wide open.
Now is not the time for rankings posturing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now is not the time to be sitting here looking and go, hey, maybe it is ideal for us to be in that 5 spot.
Well, the way I'm looking at it also is, let's just pretend we get to the end of the 2024 season. Georgia loses to Bama on Saturday, goes in the playoff and eliminates them. We're all looking back on that like, man, if you had to choose a win in these 2 series, I'm glad it was the latter. I'm glad we got them back on the second time. That's the way I'm saying it's being beneficial. I don't think losing a game is beneficial. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't think losing on Saturday would be the end of the world. But the idea that there's a chance for revenge and you can actually get the elimination game, you could look back on and say, you know what? It was okay that we lost that game.
I don't know where I was going to take my next question, but I had something for you. Oh, when was the last time Georgia was just like they're the Vegas favorite right now?
Mm-hmm.
But the consensus on predictions is that Alabama's going to win this football game.
So weird.
When was the last time that's happened?
You had a little bit of this in Tennessee 2022, but there were still a lot of people like, you guys,
Georgia's going to beat them.
You don't understand this defense. But
I'm trying to think back to the.
Would you have to go all the way back to 19 LSU? Where this team feels like almost written off right now. I bet that's the narrative. Like they don't do the outside narrative apparently at Georgia, but they kind of do. I would imagine there's some. Hey, nobody thinks y'all can do this. Everybody's counting y'all out. Y'all are Georgia, and people think y'all are shit. I bet there's some of that going on in that building. When was the last time that's happened?
there was a good bit of this in the 21 Natty when Georgia was 3-point favorites, and everyone was like, "You're telling me the team that lost to 17 is 3-point favorites again? I'm going Bama and Nick Saban every time." There was a lot of that.
That'd be the last time I would say.
Just an interesting dynamic going into this game.
It is weird that
I love
Georgia's the favorite, but ESPN says you got a 35% chance of winning.
Love it.
You got people that claim to know ball out here picking
Alabama.
against you.
Oh, I don't know, but I don't know if you saw this, but a UGA fan page put you on an Instagram story clip with you and everybody else that picked Alabama to win.
Was I the only Georgia reporter on that?
It was you, it was Pate, and it was somebody else. I can't remember who the other one was.
All right. I hope I'm wrong. Nothing hurts my pocketbook more than a Georgia loss. Nothing.
Especially when Alabama.
Yeah. When they lost in 2020, we had a lot of subscribers just be like, we can't beat Bama. I'm not paying for shit. I'm like,
it's your fault. It is your fault.
That's tough. So, yeah, the pocketbook's hoping that Georgia pulls this one out.
Pocketbook guy, not a satchel?
I'm a wallet guy. But, yeah. I
Indiana Jones wears
think
one.
you call it a pocketbook. My mom always called it a pocketbook. Positional preview. Shout out Ma Dukes. She's upstairs listening right now. Positional preview. Sure. We're looking at the defensive backs and the wide receivers today. Let's do it in a vacuum first. Let's start with the defensive backs. I'm giving Georgia's an A+. Georgia is deep, and they've played flawlessly to this point in the season. I think you can point to some couple missed tackles, but that's really it. I don't know right now of a damn, that guy was panicking PI. I haven't seen any of those happen. I haven't seen any massive explosives get hit in the back end. I've seen a couple of guys get beat in man-to-man coverage where, the coordinator designed some winners for that guy. And that stuff happens. But this defensive back group has played exceptionally well through 3 games. I gave them an A+.
It's hard to give A+ just because there's always room for improvement and nothing's perfect. But if there was going to be a defensive back unit in college football that deserved an A+, it's this team. This unit has been phenomenal. There haven't been many, oh my God, busted plays. There have been a couple of big catches, deep balls. That's going to happen. You're not going to win all your one-on-ones. But I've been extremely impressed with the way this defense is covered. And everyone who plays steps up and does a big job. Jonell Aguero, Dan Jackson, the guys that aren't usually in the typical rotation are making big plays as well. So they are absolutely one of the premier defenses.
Yeah, I gave it A+ as well because through 3 games, I can't really tell you a name in that secondary that is getting meaningful burn where I'm like, they've got to get better for this group to absolutely maximize themselves. I feel like every name that they've tossed out there, they've done their job, they've played well, and they've all played with consistency. And that's all you can really ask for out of a defensive back room. So I also went the A+ route.
All right, for Alabama's defensive back group, I gave them an A-. They've allowed free runners through 3 games. Mm-hmm. They have allowed guys to get behind them. They've allowed busted coverages. They've had some things happen where, hey, we're disguising man coverage. We don't get the Tampa 2 look cleaned up and picked up properly. I'm giving it an A-. It's not because of talent, though. They've certainly got it. It's a Bama roster.
Yeah, I give them a B+ because there are moments where this unit looks young, where it's like, oh, that was a mistake. You probably should have been there. Do you have to imagine that gets cleaned up throughout the year? And like you said, there's plenty of talent. There's enough talent to be an A in this room, but right now it's just not living up to that potential.
Yeah, I went B+ as well. I love the Keon Saab addition. Malachi Moore being back adds some more experience to this room as well. But they also have some young football players still playing for starting for this football team, and they have gotten in moments. They have had some miscues in the secondary as well. But I think they have played well. I think they played better than most units in college football. So I'm sticking with Alabama being a B+ at defensive back. It's good, not great just yet, I would say.
All right, let's talk about the matchups themselves. I gave Georgia's matchup a C. This is this is a man team, and you don't have, or do you have multiple man beaters? That's my question. When you look at this defensive back group from Alabama, yeah, they are really good, okay? Yes, they play a lot of man coverage, but if there's anything right now in Georgia's wide receiver group that I question, it's the ability to beat press man consistently from anybody not named Dominic Lovett right now. All right, I feel like if you walked up on Arian and gave him safety help, I'm not going to say we eliminate him, but we probably take care of that threat in a man-to-man defense situation. So that would be my one concern right here. I gave it a C for Georgia's matchup against this defensive back group for Alabama.
We're doing wide receivers, or
I went backwards on that. I'm sorry. Give me an A for Alabama's matchup versus these guys. Give me an A-.
So
they're a bump and run team. going up against a wide receiver group from Georgia that's not great right now, not great at beating press man.
Okay. I got you.
My bad. Sorry. Go ahead.
I went B for Georgia's defensive backs against Alabama. I mean, the explosiveness, the ability that they can strike at you no matter where they are on the football field, and it kind of happens very suddenly. I feel like they can kind of lull you a little bit with Jalen Milrow running the football, Jam Miller, Justice Haynes. I think those guys can kind of keep you in the short end of the field, and all of a sudden Jalen Milrow's slinging it 60 yards down the football field, and they're running to the end zone. So I think it's a B because it's an unpredictable matchup in that sense, but I also think that Georgia still favors well against this wide receiver unit. I think that they match up well. I think they match up well against a lot of football teams' wide receiver rooms. So I still think it's a B. It's not an A matchup, I would say. I don't think you're heavily favored against Alabama's wide receivers, but I would still say that you have good odds against this wide receiver group.
I gave this a B- because there are going to be times where Alabama receivers win. That's just what you have when you have so much talent facing off against each other. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. The reason why I wasn't higher on this is because they're going to have to cover Bama wide receivers for a long time. Jalen Milrow has the ability to extend plays like we have not really seen any other quarterback do. And I don't think they're going to see many other quarterbacks have that face other quarterbacks this season that can do that. So, a 4-second coverage play turns into a 6 or a 7. You all know what that means. That's more likely to have busted coverages. Like Kirby said, every play is a ticking time bomb. The longer these Georgia defensive backs have to cover the wide receivers, the less opportunities they're going to have to stop them. So I think it's kind of a bad matchup for them.
Yeah, I gave it a B- for Georgia. I gave y'all Alabama's matchup grade first, and then y'all gave me Georgia's. That's on me. I gave Georgia a B- in this matchup. I think by formation alone, they stress you. The fact that they do get to empty as often as they do, and when they do, it's not just that they're trying to attack you or trying to throw the ball at one of your defensive backs. They're trying to do so like 40, 50, 60 yards downfield, and that creates a lot of stress on a routine basis for these defensive backs from Georgia.
I also went with a B for Alabama's defensive
Ryan
back.
Williams is 17, by the way.
You know what? That actually changes my analysis right now. Alabama has some youth in this wide receiver room with this new breaking news, the information that Brooks just dropped on me. But, yeah, I gave Alabama's defensive backs a B against Georgia's. I think that running man coverage is probably the best route to go against playing a Georgia football team. I think that's when teams have kept Georgia's offense at bay. I think it is through man coverage. So I think that Alabama's going the best route ahead of this matchup. But I also think that Georgia has found ways to beat man coverage. They have a lot of options. And while they don't have this number one guy, I think that them having a viable amount of options and a lot of different guys that have different skill sets gives them somewhat of an advantage of this. Again, it's kind of the same thing that I said for Georgia's match or Bama's matchup against Georgia. I think that it's not necessarily a major advantage, but I also think that it's just kind of an even match.
We got a commenter, and I'm sure he's a Bama fan. That's okay. Bama left a lot of points on the table last year. Against Georgia, where? I thought Georgia forced you to leave points on the board last year.
Yeah, there was. I
thought Milrow especially played a pretty damn flawless football game last year against Georgia.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Wasn't he like 70% completion percentage last year?
No.
In that game?
No.
He wasn't?
He was like 15 for 29.
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong.
There was a period where Jalen Milrow
completed like 7 in a row or something like that?
had like
The opposite?
nine incompletions in a row.
He didn't have this game-breaking. He threw for 192 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he rushed for 29.
Not a lot of points left on the board.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there was a bunch of plays where it was like, oh, Georgia caught a break there.
Georgia had a bunch of really good red zone and plus territory stops.
Yeah.
Where you can say as an offense we left points on the board there because we should have scored, but you're not leaving points on the board against Georgia's defense. Leaving points on the board is dropping a 50-yard touchdown bomb. That's leaving points on the board.
All right, he gave us one. The overthrow in the red zone to Burton. I'll give you that.
That's yes.
I'll give you that. All right.
That's not a lot. That's
So
6.
6.
That's a 3-point swing because you end up kicking a field goal in that.
Yeah. On to the wide receivers group. All right. So from Georgia's room, I gave them a B-. Right now, Arian has been an absolute delight. I'm waiting for someone to join him and Dom. All right, where's the Dylan Bell game? Is Colby Young going to get in the mix here? I gave him a B-. I think there's still a lot of room for growth and questions to be answered.
Oh, we're grading wide receiver groups?
Are we?
Yeah, we are. What do you got? I said wide receivers and DBs. They said DB in the show note though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Just said.
Can you give it? Can you ad lib for me right
Sure.
here?
Yeah, absolutely, I can.
Thank
I would give Georgia's wide receiver group a B right now. I think that I'm giving a lot of Bs right now, but I just think that Georgia, like I said, mentioned in their matchup against Alabama's defensive backs, they have a lot of options. They don't have that top guy. And I think that you still haven't kind of seen them hit their ceiling yet. I think that we're kind of limited against Kentucky because of how well Kentucky played defense against them. But I think that what we also see when you go back and watch the film is that there's open players, there's open wide receivers. Bobo's dialing up shots for this offense to work and make it happen. So I think that there is room to grow and there's still room to improve. And I think that the wide receivers are doing the right things. Other than I think the blocking on the perimeter could get a little bit better. But outside of that, I think it's a B. I don't think it's overly great, but it's not bad by any means either.
Do we remember Alan Berry's super chat question? I know we answered it, but do we remember?
Was it from yesterday?
No, it's from today. We answered it just now, about 20 minutes ago. Chat's right. We got amnesia today. How about you? Give me a grade. Georgia's wide receiver.
I'll give it a B- because I feel like this unit has not played as a cohesive unit quite yet. You know, Dylan Bell's had some good moments. Colby Young's made some good plays. Dominic Lovett's had some. London Humphries has made some. But it's not like a single drive where it's like, man, Dylan Bell had a really nice catch there, and then they threw it to Dom Lovett, and he made a 20-yard play, and then Colby Young finished it in the red zone for a touchdown. It's not playing as a cohesive unit, and I think that's what you need from Georgia wide receiver rooms to be so deadly because they don't have these big-name 5 stars that everyone talks about and everyone says you need in college football today. So that's why I'm giving it a B-.
Bear Alexander will redshirt this season at USC per Tony Jones, who Alexander calls his father. He's expected to stay with the team per Jones, quote, "We made clear what our goals are. The goal is to be a full-time starter and leader on the defense like we came to be."
Okay.
Alexander is a former top 60 recruit who transferred from Georgia. If Bear not being a starter and playing 35 or 40 snaps a game isn't in the best interest of the team, we need to do something different, Jones said. I'm just gonna bite my tongue. Costing that kid millions of dollars. I'm giving Alabama's wide receiver room a B+. I think they're great at what they're asked to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're really, really good at what they're asked to do, which is be explosive. All right, get on top of folks, and then when you get the ball in your hands, your job is to be the most dynamic human being on the field. They do a great job at that. They also are really, really intent with their blocking all across the board. We saw Kendrick Law putting people on their backs against Wisconsin. I gave him a B+.
Yeah, I'll go with a B+ as well. I think that they do a really good job, and I think you have to have the right type of wide receivers to play in this style of offense with a quarterback that is mobile, that can take off. I think they do a great job of playing off script. I think they do a great job of finding open space in those types of plays. And then also I think Ryan Williams elevates his wide receiver room as well with how explosive he is and how explosive the offense is as well. I think that a lot of these, all the players that they rotate in at wide receiver, they all have the chance to take the distance if you give them if you get them the ball. So I think it's a good Alabama wide receiver room as it typically is. Definitely not as good as they have been in years past, but with the offense, how they run it, I think it's a good unit.
I went A- with this because I remember coming into the season, everyone was kind of like, Bama doesn't really have a receiver group. They don't really have a core. This group has been extremely explosive, and like you said, Brooks, they've done everything they've been asked to do. Mm-hmm. They've exceeded expectations so far. Are they one of the best units in the country? I don't know about all that, but they're a damn good one, and they're a big problem for the teams they play.
I gave Georgia's matchup a B+ in this. Maybe I'm a standard B here, and here's what I'm thinking is going to happen here. I do think there is some ability to get these corners some space. Like I said, if Wisconsin wide receivers can get a little bit loose, you're going to be able to or should be able to from Georgia. The reason I bumped it up to a B as opposed to like a B- or maybe even a C+, I do think Arian Smith can really, really be explosive in this football game. If you're going to play as much man coverage as they do, somebody's going to get loose for a lot of yardage, and that's a little bit scary for me if I'm a Bama fan.
Yeah, for this, I would go Georgia as a B-. I think that you do have avenues to get high percentage plays. You do have avenues to get explosives here. They are going to be somewhat limited. They are going to be kind of hindered by man. You do have a couple of receivers where their skill sets are limited in beating man coverage. But overall, there are going to be moments. The biggest question in this will be when you do get that moment, when you do get that layup, do you make it? That's going to be what makes this matchup go from an A+ to a C- in my opinion.
Yeah, I would go B- in this as well. Just kind of based off of how Georgia's wide receiver room has played thus far. If there was a dominating factor, like if there was a shoe-in number one guy on this offense, I think I'd bump it up to a B+ or maybe even an A- at this point, because finding the hot hand throughout an entire season, I think is very pivotal for a wide receiver room. I think Georgia's still working towards finding that, or working their way towards finding maybe even two guys that they feel like they can continuously go to. I think Dominic Lovett is definitely one of them. Arian Smith looking like he may be the other one, but maybe it's Dylan Bell if he gets put into a different type of role. Maybe it's Colby Young through his expanded reps. But I think Georgia has the talent to beat this defensive back room. I think they have the talent to be successful in this football game. But I'll give it a B-.
I gave Bama's matchup a C- just because of how good Georgia's defensive back group is.
Yeah,
how well they've played this year.
It's in the C range for me as well. I mean, you haven't faced a DB unit like this. Now they haven't faced an offensive wide receiver unit like you have, but you'd have to imagine with the way that Georgia's defensive back unit traditionally plays and with the way they've played this season, they're going to be pretty good at locking you up and giving you problems, not making throws easy on you.
Yeah, I would also go B- for this, because if there was a unit in college football that you had to tell me this unit is going to hold Alabama to the least amount of explosives, I would say it's probably going to be Georgia, just because that's kind of what they're just trained to do. You know, keep everything in front of them. Don't get bit over the top. And especially with this unit, when you know you got to keep an eye on this. I went back and checked the SEC championship game. Isaiah Bond had a 22-yard reception. Jam Miller had a 28-yard reception. Outside of that, nobody had a 20-plus yard reception. So Georgia has a track record of keeping explosives at bay against wide receiver units like this. Ole Miss is another example of this, a team that really likes to chunk the ball. So I think that if you're going to ask a defensive back unit to really maintain explosives, Georgia is the unit to do that. And if that's what Alabama is best at doing, I like Georgia's matchup, but still a B- because this is a good wide receiver group.
Gas Dog with a super chat asked, when do you plug Anthony Evans in on offense? Last week.
During the bye week.
Got to get that guy on the field. But it's hard, man. I actually had a conversation with somebody about this the other day. It's like, if they're deep anywhere, it's in the slot right now. You know, they're searching for an X still. You know, whoever's not playing X is playing Z. But if they're deep anywhere at wide receiver, really, really deep, it's in the slot. Michael Jackson's not getting burned right now either. You know, that was a guy that came from USC thinking he was going to get some run. And he ain't getting none right now. People are in our chat asking us when Anthony Evans is going to get on the field far earlier than they are. Michael Jackson's name ain't even getting mentioned. So there's a lot of guys in that slot receiver room that got to get playing time. Anthony Evans being one of them. Somebody says Anthony Evans on third downs. No. I want Anthony Evans on first and second down on the field. I want shots. I don't want to be seeing if Anthony Evans can create space on 3rd and 5. I want Anthony Evans trying to hit us for a 75-yard tud on 2nd and 2. That's what I want.
I like that.
All right. Players to watch on Saturday?
Who are they?
Let's do this. I got 5 with an OLI.
I don't think we were ranking them. Is there an OLI?
Yeah. The outside looking in, as they should always be, the specialist. Standing off to the side.
Look at that.
Practicing by themselves. Outside of the practice area, certainly looking in.
So are you putting Anthony Evans in there?
Number 5, Ernest Green. I'm paying attention to it. I'm watching it closely. By the way, these are my players to watch, both for meeting the standard, like playing well. Like, I'm paying attention to you because I think you're a pivotal matchup in this football game, and players that I'm watching expecting to boom. Ernest Green, I'm watching because, like, through the last 2 weeks, man, last 2 football games, there needs to be drastic improvement, in my opinion. There needs to be drastic improvement there for a guy who, by the way, I saw this offseason in first-round mock drafts.
I remember that.
I saw him on preseason All-American list. I saw him on preseason All-SEC list. And it's a guy who's 6'3.5", 320 pounds, and has to play with perfect technique. He has not done so the last 2 outings as a left tackle. Number 4, Colby Young. Talked about it, man. Can you be the man beater? Can you be the guy out here to win your one-on-one consistently, so much so that we have to play you? We have to send you out there and get you playing time because you're our man-to-man beater. Number 3, 17 years old. Number 2, who's their rusher? Who's their edge rusher? That's what I'm going to be paying attention to. Is Quay Rousseau out there available? Rousseau. I've got to find out how Kirk and them boys pronounce that because we're going to have to stick with. It's a name we're going to have to be saying a lot on this channel over the next 2 years of college football. Who is it? Who's the guy getting pressure? Who's the guy that you got to account for in the pass protection department? Number one, the number one guy I'm watching, and it's going to determine this football game. Does Carson Beck play with confidence? Does he rip that thing? Is he out here slanging it? I would pull a Bill Parcells on him. Have you heard the Bill Parcells, Phil Simms story?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't at home, I'm going to give it to you. Right before a playoff game, all right, the New York Giants and that historic defense are about to go onto the field. And Bill Parcells grabs Phil Simms by the shoulder and he says, Phil, if you don't throw an interception today, I'm benching your ass. And Phil looks at him like, what? And he's like, Phil, we got a good defense. We just need you. We need you to play confidently. We need you to go out here and rip it and let it fly. And if you throw in an interception, if you make a mistake, it's okay because we might get it back 3- or 4-fold because you're playing and you're forcing the issue. I think we need to force the issue a little bit on Saturday. Play confidently.
I like it. I'm actually surprised that I didn't have any overlap with you. I usually do on this. First one I have is Mykel Williams. I think that seeing how healthy he is going to be very impactful for this game. If Mykel Williams is 100%, look out. If he's not, it's going to be interesting to see the way Georgia kind of fills that void. Michael Morris, obviously, Tate Ratledge went down. Not great. I want to see how he fills that void as well. A lot of void filling for this one. Dalen Everett. Everyone's kind of, deemed him as, the bad corner, things like that. I think Dalen Everett has an opportunity to make some really, really big, massive plays in this game. And also, you're on an island as a corner in Georgia's defense, so he's going to at some point be involved in a very, very big play. And then my fourth one is Anthony Evans, not because of what he'll do on the offense, but because of what he'll do on special teams. He has the opportunity to flip the field for you and give you a quick touchdown. It's essentially what got Georgia back into this game last year, where they ran that fake two-man, two-catcher deep. Anthony Evans
ran him onto the field late as hell, too.
Late.
I was sitting in the press box going, oh, there's no way he catches this ball. And he catches it. Not only does he catch it, he returns it for like 40 yards. It was crazy. So, yeah, go ahead.
The reason you got back in that game, if Anthony Evans can flip the field at least once, I'll just say it right now. Anthony Evans will have a very impactful play in this game. There will be a play where we can point to and say that's why Georgia won or that's why Georgia lost. So,
Interesting. Interessante.
Same note. I was about to say that.
I have 6 of them. I don't have an OLI, but I'll give you 6 names right now.
Buddy, it was right there on a platter for you. You could have gone top. You could have gone top 5 with an OLI. It was right there sitting.
No.
OLI's my thing.
Yeah, that's you.
not even that. That's like you don't always need.
There's no
OLIs.
outsiders in this group.
You don't always need OLIs.
I had tackles because I don't think it's just Ernest Green. I think it's also Xavier Truss in this football game, and also Monroe Freeling. I think all 3 of these guys are going to play, and they all 3 have big jobs ahead of them on Saturday. They all 3 need to play well for this offense to reach its full capacity. So I'm watching those 3 guys on Saturday. Arian Smith. If Georgia's going to be able to break things open, if they're going to find some explosiveness, if they're going to get like this jolts in them, and early on in this football game. It's usually because Arian Smith makes a big play. We've seen this time and time again over his career where Arian Smith makes a big play early on in the football game, and this is kind of when Georgia takes their shots. George Pickens had some moments like this. So early on in these football games is when Georgia kind of likes to break it open a little bit, get some momentum going, get the juices flowing. So Arian Smith, a name I'm watching. Jonel Aguero, because history just kind of says that if offenses are going to pick on one defensive back for Georgia, they're going to try and go after the guy that's kind of new to the unit, the guy that has the least amount of playing time. I think he's going to have a big role, especially playing in the slot at star for Georgia this Saturday. So he's a guy I'm going to keep an eye on. Trevor Etienne, he had a great track record against conference opponents as a number 2 at Florida. He had over 1,000 rushing yards against SEC teams. He averages 66 yards per game against SEC teams. I think he had 11 touchdowns as well. So I'm really watching Trevor Etienne just to kind of see how he fits and what his role is in these big football games, and just can he bring that extra energy, can he bring that juice to a football game of this magnitude. Malachi Starks, safety, playing against an explosive team. He played some big plays last year in the SEC championship game, so I think he's going to have to make some big plays again. And obviously it may seem like a no-brainer that the best defensive back and maybe the best football player in this game is a player to watch, but I think Malachi Stark's a big player to watch. And then Jalen Walker, if he can do what he did against Kentucky this weekend, and he can get some sacks, and if he can get some TFLs against Jalen Milroe. He had a TFL last year against Jalen Milroe in the SEC championship game. He's a player I'm watching. Create some havoc, continue doing your thing, get instant pressure, because even if you don't get to him, if you can just kind of get in his face, it can make Jalen Milroe speed up a good bit, and it can create some havoc in the offense.
Mike Bobo legacy game?
Part 2.
What was part 1?
Well, he was at Georgia before.
I know. Massive football game.
I'm excited.
It's elite analysis right there. Massive football
This
game.
is a big one.
John Stafford paid $50 just to say this. Brooks, quote, Roll Tide Austin, go Dogs. Thank you for that, John.
Respect.
Thank you for that. We got nostalgic tape coming up.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Did Kirby send you this name?
Yes.
Did I see? Is that what was going on over there?
Yeah.
All right, y'all sit here and talk while I get this lav put together.
Okay.
All right, so previewing this one again, I'm going to try to find a better one that's going to be able to stump you, because I feel like this is also some tape that's fairly well known. It's also a fairly well known region that this player came from. Pretty recent, one of the better Georgia defensive players. He's a first-round pick to come out. So,
Oh, buddy, you're giving me way too many hints.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say, man, if you were already
I got
expecting him to
Devontae
get-
Wyatt without a single play being shown.
you did. You did.
I think he might do the same thing here. To be
Top 5
honest.
most impressive things I've done on this network?
Potentially.
I've never ranked for the top 5, so I don't know.
Guy doesn't care about his job.
I bet you he walks up here and guesses it.
No, I just don't. Yeah.
Oh,
Whatever.
that's Troy Bowles.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh.
It looks like Troy
Look
Bowles'
at you.
defense or offensive tape. No, it's Jalen Carter.
There you go.
There you go.
Jalen Carter.
Thought he hit the
Opopka, Florida.
Buddy thought he hit the walk-off. You see him turn
he's
around
right
and
here.
Yeah, he did.
everything.
He was ready.
Now, this tape's really, really fun. This tape's really, really fun. I also think we get some tight end clips on this highlight
Yeah,
tape
so
as
he's
well.
listed as a tight end on Huddle.
Yeah, I think we get some tight end clips on this highlight tape as well. Boy, he was.
Good
oh my God. Boy, he was ready to kill some New Orleans Saints fans. The other
Yeah,
night,
he
wasn't
was.
Yeah.
So I got it without a play. 2 guesses, no plays. A little bit too confident right there. Shouldn't have guessed Troy Bowles. You told me he's a first-round draft pick. I'm an idiot.
Oh,
Oh,
my.
look at
Yeah.
the tight end. Is that an H-back I can see?
I think my comp coming out of high school was, believe it or not, Trayvon Walker. Because of all of the athleticism that he showed, what I didn't realize was we were going to play at 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? He's playing about 275 right here.
Yeah, he looks light in this video.
Immediately got to Georgia and was like, I'm going to play at 295 and I'm going to be a grown-ass man.
They just wanted him to be a road grader.
Yeah, I mean, they did everything with him. And he was playing 4I
Yeah.
in high school as well, so he's playing a little more of a defensive end role for his high school football team. Way too much offensive highlight tapes.
That's
on
a
this.
lot of tight end tape
Yeah,
here.
way too much for
Here
my
he's
liking.
an H-back.
Ooh. See, we're even blocking out of the screen.
That looks like Mount Dora Christian Academy.
Running back's got some go-go juice, don't he? Timmy ran you down. Let's see here. What else we got? All right, enough of the freaking offense, man. Show me some defensive clips.
Here we go.
Kill someone. Yeah. Always loved his ability to get flat. Get
Yes.
flat down the line of scrimmage with a tremendous amount of athleticism. That's what one of his best traits is still to this day. Am we get a catch right here? Oh, a little turn and run. Oh! Come
Oh,
on.
I was about what
I
the?
thought he was about to make something shake.
No bag.
man's got no bag. Oof.
I thought he was about to body
He
slam
is.
him.
He is. If his teammates weren't there, he's going to pick that dude up and suplex him. Hit that left arrow or that right arrow the next time we see an offensive clip. Just yada, yada, yada. We're right after that. All right? Let's see here. Come on. Give me some defense, man. Give me some D.
What the heck?
Hit it. No.
Oh.
You're going backwards. Hit the right arrow. Just hit it forward.
I
It'll
am.
fast forward. You are? Damn it. All right. That's enough. That's enough. Should have played the defense highlight tapes. We didn't have them. I guess when you're a 5-star, you stop cutting clips, which we've already kind of.
That was junior season.
That was junior year? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't make a senior tape.
No.
No need for it.
Why would you?
No need for it at all. Any changes on your thoughts, predictions of this football game?
Nope.
Still kind of
It's
staying
Wednesday.
the same.
Nope.
Y'all still got Georgia, and I'm having to be held my feet to the fire on the Bama prediction. So even though I feel worse about it today than I did yesterday.
Sorry, bro.
Love you guys. Bye.